Are you ready to elevate your spirits? Look no further than Black Ring Spirits, your local craft distillery nestled in Town Square Mall. Indulge in the smooth richness of our handcrafted spirits, meticulously distilled to perfection. Whether you prefer the bold kick of our bourbon or the subtle sophistication of our gin, Black Ring Spirits has something for every palate. Visit us today at Town Square Mall and experience the essence of true craftsmanship. Black Ring Spirits, where passion meets perfection, unconventionally traditional.
Admin a la carte are specialized local experts committed to helping you run your small business. From general admin and sales support to marketing, digital media and technology to real estate and compliance. Admin a la carte's only goal is to take your business to the next level. Find out how Admin a la carte can elevate your business. Visit admin-alacarte.com for more information. That's admin-alacarte.com. Admin a la carte. Your business doesn't fit into a box. Why should you have to?
Never give in. Never give in. Never, never, never. In nothing, great or small, large or petty, never give in except to convictions of honor and good sense. Never yield to force. Never yield to the apparently overwhelming might of the enemy.
You're listening to the Outlaw Radio Network. OutlawRadioNetwork.com.
This country can't be knocked out with one punch. We get right back up again, and when we do, the world's going to hear the roar of our engines.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
You do your work, and we will do our best.
Republic. I like the sentiment of it. It means people can live free, talk free, go or come, buy or sell, be drunk or sober, however they choose.
Are you ready to be who you are?
No poetry, just a straight answer.
The government has deliberately sought to deceive the United States by false statements and expressions of hope for continued peace.
We are men of the hood, marry now at your expense.
But there's no both sides anymore. They're just trying to wreck our goddamn country. It's time for you younger guys to take over.
You were meant to be here tonight. This is your time. Their time is done. It's over. Screw them. This is your time. Now go out there and take it.
If you guys don't start thinking as men, we're gonna have a lousy country.
For the crimes of incitement to cause unrest, I decline to be an outlaw!
All right, everybody, it is the Outlaw Radio Network for the 11th of May. Happy Mother's Day, everybody. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. We need to work on your mic volume. You turn your mic. Is your mic on?
Is my mic on? Testing.
Testing?
It doesn't sound like it.
No, there you go.
There we go.
We have a dirty potentiometer. Try that again. Hi, Lilet.
Hi. How is everybody?
Good. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We'll introduce you more and get more about you here in just a moment. Couple things in the show. Tom is here. Hello, Tomas.
Hey there.
Good to see you, my friend. What's going on?
Oh, not much. I'm sorry I'm off camera tonight, but I'm mid whiskey run, so I need to be back paying attention to my still every so often.
Yeah, Tom will be multitasking tonight. Dennis running the boards. What's up, homie?
Another day in paradise.
Another day. Will you turn me up a little bit more in my ears? I just can't hear my amazing voice as much as I'd like to. Thank you. That's great. Boss Baby is here as well. She is off camera and refuses to be on camera. She's worried about her stalker, J. Andrew Kennedy. I think is what the issue is. But
there.
Well, there she is. Boss Baby, welcome to the show. All right. Couple housekeeping things to take care of before we get Lilet in here. Talk a little bit with Lilet. So Ash Black. Ash Black. I was looking to double check the last name. Ash Black is running for city council, city of Bremerton. We had him on the show a couple of weeks ago with Doc.
Position 3, I believe.
Yeah, position 3.
Yep.
I don't usually get into personal things like what position, but okay. Position 3 will be in studio on the casting couch next Sunday.
Awesome.
7 p.m. Ash Black in studio, talk about his run.
That sounds like a good excuse to get the second camera angle finally set up.
Yeah, we need the second camera angle set up. Listen, I'm going to be honest. I normally don't want to get city council people on the show.
Why?
Because then it makes us way too nichey. Like that's like a segment where only our 7 listeners in the city limits of Bremerton, only one of which is actually in District 3, is really going to want to listen to it.
Right, but if we if we include everyone, then we're just going to continually grow our audience.
Yeah,
that
there's
way.
7 people that live in District 3.
That's okay.
Anyway, but I love Ash, and I love what he stands for. I love what he's doing, kind of the
Yeah.
grassroots end of things.
Yep,
He's
yep.
a friend of the show, friend of Doc's, and I'm excited to have him on.
Yeah.
And
No,
maybe that interview will change my mind about talking with city council people.
Yeah, no, Ash. I think Ash is his heart's in the right place.
I hate that phrase.
No, but
Because if their
he
heart was
really-
in the wrong place, they'd be dead, Tom.
wise ass.
All right, just checking.
God.
All right.
I hope politics don't like jade him, because he's getting into it for all the right reasons.
I think so too.
But I mean, politics is nasty.
Yeah, look,
And
anybody
it's gonna leave scars.
Anybody with a heart like that hangs out with a guy like Doc with a heart like that, where
Yeah.
their goal is to help the community and to
Yeah.
get involved and to intersect with people that live around them and get to know them regardless of race, creed, gender, religious affiliation, sexuality,
none of
whatever.
that
just,
matters.
Just know everybody, connect with
Yep.
your neighbors.
Yep. Well, and that right there, what you just said is exactly why we need to have in city council members.
Oh God. Okay, Tom. That's why you don't book guests. That's the exact reason why
Really?
you don't book guests.
You remember Spike Cohen?
Oh, do you remember Spike?
Yeah. You remember Joe Jorgensen?
Yeah, but they were running for national office, and you got.
Oh
permission
yeah,
first.
no, okay. So maybe I have a little bit of reach, a little
Whatever.
bit of spectrum.
Shut your mouth. All right. Holly in chat says hello, Lilet.
I'm not above city council
hi.
people either.
Hi, Holly.
Yeah. So Holly's upset you didn't let her know that you were going to be on. She just happened to pop on for the first time in months, and there was Lilet.
Yay.
So so let's explain the deal with Lilet. Lilet, thanks for coming in.
Hi.
I'm glad you made it. I'm glad you came in. I'm glad that you're not intimidated by the assholes that are Outlaw Radio. I'm glad that you're that you're in. Well, I'm taking a shot at Holly because she won't come on the show.
Oh.
Love you,
Say,
Holly.
I keep my asshole clean.
Okay, that's a conversation for a different day.
I don't know. Sometimes the filth that comes out, it's nasty.
Yeah.
But we don't need it.
So, Lila, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. So, when Paul announced he was not going to be in studio tonight because he's doing things with his mom and things with his wife for Mother's Day, we decided, well, why not have somebody else come in? And Lila volunteered, and I think it's great to have you in. So, welcome to the show.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Are you nervous?
Yeah.
Or why?
Always nervous.
Are you always nervous?
It takes
That's all right.
me a couple to wind down.
Yeah. Well, it'll be fine. There's plenty of alcohol in the building. Just nod at Tom if you need that to take the edge off.
We had that conversation.
Did you have that talk?
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do that with all of our guests that come in studio. If they want a drink, I'll make them a drink.
I was looking for some peanut butter whiskey.
I'm so sorry. We did have that conversation.
Yeah.
I mean,
Holly,
there
I know you
isn't a
didn't.
good one out there
Holly,
right
I know you
now.
didn't say you
Maybe
were
I should make
upset.
the first one.
I was just being funny. I was just poking fun at you. It's what I do. I'm glad you're back in the chat, Holly. You've been missed. We talk about you all the time. All right. We have a really full show. So we're really going to run the gamut of political topics tonight. I think we're going to spend a good chunk of this first segment at least talking with Lilet. Because I want to find out who Lilet is, what Lilet's all about, what made Lilet want to come in the studio. And then we're going to break into topics through the rest of the night like we normally do. Coming up in the third hour, we are going to play one of my favorite games to play on the show that I haven't played with Tom before, and obviously not Lilet because Lilet's never been here, but we're going to play professional wrestler or porn star, where you guys are going to be given a name, and you'll have to tell me if that's a professional wrestler or a porn star.
Fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun. That'll be in the third hour. But it'll be fun. And Holly, you can come on whenever you want to. We don't lie. We just have different truths. I can own that. We have different truths.
Yeah,
so
it's good-
Lilet,
it's good to push back.
well, yeah, and listen, and I'm glad you're here because the general consensus amongst, I won't say many, because that's an assumption, but the general consensus against some semblance of the left locally is that we Outlaw, not me personally, we Outlaw are jerks, a-holes, bigots, racists, sexists, misogynists.
You're running the
dot,
gambit.
dot. Yeah. I've been accused of being a grandmaster.
Boxes.
Yeah, I've been accused of being a grandmaster of the KKK by Paulsville for All. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. I do want to know what the cool handshake is. If I could figure that out, I would not look good in the robe. It would cover up this beautiful face. But why?
That's the point.
That is the point. Why agree to come on the
Might
show?
help your love life.
Like,
Oh.
all right. That's how we're gonna be, Lilet. Okay, I got you. Woo! Feeling you. Thanks, buddy.
I mean, last week You saw my comment. Maybe you need a man in your life.
Maybe. Well, I don't.
I don't know. You
So
had,
why agree to come on? Like why if the consensus out there is that we're all horrible people,
You know,
and I'm not saying you think that, but I'm
people,
saying if the
but
consensus out there is why come on?
It's to push back against the rhetoric sometimes, and it'd be fucking fun.
Yeah. All right.
You know, it's fun to have a conversation. You know, it allows me to get out there as well and get my point of view across. It's very hard to do that in chat. And things are taken out of context when in chat too.
Yeah.
You know, things pass by 2 minutes later, you finally see my message or something. You're like,
yeah, and then you don't know where to. So one thing about these mics, you got to speak right
I
up on
gotta
it.
speak
So
right here.
if it's easier to reorganize that, Dennis can mute you just for a sec if we need to, but you can maneuver that.
I'll come
however
over and
you
give
need
a
to.
hand.
Just be right up on that
Yeah.
microphone so they can hear you.
Here we go.
Yeah, no, listen, I completely agree. And it's one of the downsides to our chat system is that there is a lag. And so people will say, I agree with you completely, or they'll say you're an idiot. And we won't really know how to attribute that comment. So I just assume if they're calling someone an idiot, it's Paul. And if they're agreeing with somebody completely, they're agreeing with me. So yeah, it's challenging. So who is Lilat?
Who is Lilat?
And I'm not going to use your last name at all, although I know that it's used in
It's in
chat. So
chat.
if you're comfortable saying that, you can. I don't usually put people's last names out there, so it's up to you. But who is Lilat?
I'm a trans woman. I'm a caregiver for our elderly and other individuals that need it. I'm also a leftist, Marxist, if you want to put a label on me. But my belief is we can do better as a society by fixing systemic issues within it. And a lot of that has to do with capitalism itself. I'm anti-capitalism. That means the means of production are owned by certain people, and the rest of us are just workers that has to sell our labor for a wage to be able to survive within this capitalist system. Capitalism done wonderful things. Not denying it. I'm happy to live in a capitalist system. It would be horrible to live in feudalism, but it's still a hierarchy of a system of the haves and haves not, and your relationship to the means of production and the value that the surplus value generated does not go back to the worker. So we have what we have right now, minimum wage across the federal, the states and everything, 7.25 still. It hasn't been updated in 15 years. WTF, other things, neoliberalism, starting in the 70s really took hold of this country, and just the accumulation of the wealth. We got a history that is rhyming with our past history of the 1900s with the robber barons and everything. There's correlation that we can see the amount of power that these people wield, what they can buy. And during our golden age of economics in the 50s, 60s, 70s, our tax rate was marginally higher. And Reagan comes in, Clinton comes in, lowers taxes, and we just see that inequality bump. And we can look at the crime, and crime has also gone down though, but there's that everybody feels the crime wave or something, but statistically shows that crime has gone down. If we want to eliminate crime, there are ways that we can do that. Housing first. You don't like poor people out there because they're homeless and everything. Let's get them housing. Let's build housing. We put roadblocks in front of that. 1998, we had the Faircloth Amendment Act that stated that the federal government will no longer build houses, and to keep that level or reduce that level in the future. That's what we've been seeing. And now we have this housing crisis. We have these renters seeking more and more rent, stealing our money because they want to bump it up 5%. What was the previous year to this year, and why that 5% when nothing in the household changes? Things
Right.
like that.
But there are changes though, right? Because we do see property tax increases. There's a ballot measure that at least was discussed. I don't know if it passed, where they were looking at property taxes automatically increasing every year based on the COLA. Did that pass?
It passed, and it's it's 2%.
2% every year.
Yep.
So then I could you make an argument then that it would make sense for a property owner to increase their rent by 2% every year to accommodate for the fact that they've also got to accommodate for now a higher property tax?
I think that we can do something different in terms of property tax, where that goes to and how that value is distributed.
We're speaking the same language there.
Like let's take schools, property taxes for schools and everything that are centered within a zip code. That's very unequal when we go to zip code,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mhm.
And the dismantling of the Department of Education by the Trump administration is just terrible. We can say that it doesn't do anything. We can see that, these test scores aren't. It's really just about how we spend these funds and how they're allocated. We can get into these problematic schools better and figure out what's going on, but without proper taxation and having teachers paid what they're supposed to be paid, you're going to have that. A lot of bad schools have low paid teachers too,
and
they're
large
not going to
number
stick around.
And a large number of those teachers are spending money out of their own pockets.
Exactly. And that's been forever. And it's just not a system that you can look overseas and look at all these other systems, how they do it. Like in Norway and Sweden, the Scandinavian country, they don't have private schools. They have one school system. It's a public school system, and it allocates all the money into education. They also spend extra on education. They have free pre-K and all that other stuff that we should have here as well. We almost did have it actually in the 70s. Nixon vetoed a child care bill. And then World War II, we had a Child Care Act for women working in the Defense Department, where all their needs for childcare were met above and beyond what we do now.
Right.
And we just said no more. But it was an excellent program. The child tax credit that Biden did for the first 2 years rose children out of poverty. 50 to 70% of children are out of poverty. We take that away, they're back into poverty. Those are things that we
But hold on.
works.
Let me push back on that a little bit. I don't want to argue, but let me. How does $3,000 a year take children out of poverty?
Well, the way that the tax credit is set up, and you can tell me if I'm wrong in my characterization, is that you would get a lump sum of that at the tax time.
Right.
Instead, this tax credit is now split up monthly, where parents are able to allocate that budget better.
But wasn't it like $500 a month or $250 a month? Or it wasn't a huge amount of money per month.
No,
right?
but the statistics showed, and they did the studies and showed that it raised these children out of poverty, where parents were having that breathing room to be able to pay their bills, get the kids what they needed, and everything like that, and they were spending it correctly. Whereas if you're getting it a lump sum, that's like vacation.
Yeah. Well, you've probably heard me say this before. I think refundable tax credits are insanely dumb on an annual basis, because I know when I was raising my kids with my ex-wife, and we had two sons, and we would get a $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 tax return because of the earned income credit and all of that. That money was gone within a month because you were either getting the car fixed, or you were planning a family trip, or you were going to buy a new TV, or you were going to do something big with it.
Right.
But it was not a life-changing resurrect your family out of poverty long term. It was like a 1 month where you had this windfall, and then the next month it was gone.
Yeah, agree. Because you're just looking at your item and what can you bust out with this amount of money, and you're always going to be looking, okay, I can be able to get that car fixed.
Yeah.
Instead of going to your kids for supplies, food, etc.
Yeah.
And it just showed that it was just better handled that way for parents of this country.
Wouldn't it make more sense then, rather than creating a system where you're taxing somebody, getting money, cycling it through the federal government, and then kicking it back out as a refund? Wouldn't it just make more sense to not tax like that demographic specifically? Like if you're going to say, okay, if you're below 95% of the poverty line, we're not going to take income taxes out of your paycheck. Instead of, because I feel like we create a cost, right? We bring it in and we have to pay bureaucrats and federal employees and create systems and departments that then cost money. So we lose money on the downslope, right?
Mhm.
We pull it in, we have to shave some of it out to pay and establish those before we kick it back out.
Right.
Would it make more sense just to say, if you're at 90% or 94, whatever negligible number you come up with of the poverty line, where you're going to get all your taxes back anyway, we're just not going to take that income from you?
I would agree with that. However, I feel that we can just do it better without actually having that type of price. If you have kids, we can say that this tax is just null and void. It's really about taxing the people that have wealth, and those are the people with the means of production. You know, the big landlords,
Mhm.
big corporations. These are the people that aren't paying their fair share of taxes that people talk about. I don't want to tax the middle class or anybody like that in terms of how much they make. And you know, the median means of income is like $74,000. But if you actually look at that and you take away the 10% that have the wealth, it's actually much lower, the medium range, and that's where most of us live under. And we should all pay taxes because we use our infrastructure. That's what our taxes should be going to. Instead, they're not. They're going to tax breaks, not for you or me. You know, Trump's tax cuts benefit the wealthy. That's what we said before. I think that you know that. And they're set to expire. They're not set to expire for those billionaires, though. Why is that?
Yeah. Well, and then, you know, I don't know if you, and I'm assuming you're not a Trump supporter. I'm guessing. You know, Trump came out this week and hinted about the fact that he was considering proposing tax increases on the rich, which I thought won't
happen. But
I thought it was wonky as hell. Like, all of a sudden, Donald Trump comes out with a Democrat idea: let's tax the rich a little bit more, and Republicans are up in arms. And
well, I mean, not all of them. Warren Buffett has come out and said that he should pay much more in taxes than he does.
Yeah.
He has that famous quote where he's saying that there is class warfare going on, and it's my class that's waging the war. And
Sure.
it's true, and they're
Yeah.
winning.
Yeah.
And they are. You know, there's more billionaires than ever today. Who needs $1 billion? You can tax 99% of Bezos' wealth. He'll still be a billionaire.
Right.
You know, do they need that wealth to shoot his dick into the fucking sky? No, no. And it's ridiculous. You know, we used to have a program called NASA. Instead, we've outsourced that privately. And what do we get in return for that? Nothing. We don't get anything from it. We sabotage our own infrastructure, public infrastructure for space exploration for this billionaire to be a effing Nazi now, you know?
Well,
I'm sorry, that was the Nazi salute.
Yeah,
if you deny it, I'm sorry.
I don't.
You're off
I don't.
the hinges.
I think he's.
My heart goes out to you. No, I'm sorry.
I think he's got, and I've read a couple of things about this online too, that he's got some autistic tendencies.
No, autistic people, they are not Nazis.
No.
This is a
Hold on.
thing.
Hold on. Don't
This
take
is
away.
a personal thing that he has because he grew up in South Africa. If you learn his history, you see that his family were part of Nazism, and they agreed with things that Hitler, and they moved to South Africa.
I want to back up though. I'm not saying autistic people are Nazis. Don't take my
I'm
comment.
ju- no,
don't
no,
take
no,
my comment.
no,
on
no,
it.
no.
People
What
are
I
going to be sending me
mean-
hate mail.
What I mean is, you don't see other autistic people just throwing out the Nazi salute.
No, but
That's what I
aren't
mean.
they?
And I feel that classifying Elon Musk as autistic, even if he is trying to downplay his stupidity, and he knows what he's doing. He's trying to be cheeky, and he's an asshole for doing it. And he doesn't want to take responsibility for it, or even a fucking sorry. I'm sorry. This guy is a monster.
Yeah, it would have gone over better had he just said, "That wasn't my intent. I apologize if it offended." That would have made more sense.
It would have been better. It
but
would have been better for Tesla. It would have been
Yeah.
better for the workers. And there's fucking cars that he cried about on TV.
Tom, am I wrong? Because your son is on the spectrum, correct?
Yeah.
Am I wrong that autistic are a little more expressive with their hands?
Most certainly.
Yeah. So that's what I attributed it to. Now again, I'm not saying you're wrong. I just personally, when I saw it, I attributed the fact that I've read he's on the spectrum. He doesn't seem like the most well thought out dude in the world. Like, I don't think that he's ever had a moment where he thought about his actions before he did them. So that's kind of how I wrote it out. But I'm not saying you're wrong.
No,
I don't know enough
I
about
know.
his past
No, I get
to
it. I
make
get
that
it.
to make that.
But
call.
I just feel the characterization to downplay it because of his autism is disingenuous. Like we saw what he did
on multiple occasions.
Right.
Yeah, multiple
and then also where he also goes, he did a Zoom meeting like the next week or two to some far right affiliated German type of CPAC thing, and he's just spouting all this hate and everything.
Yeah.
And it's just it's terrible.
Well, and you had a really valid point about outsourcing all this stuff from NASA to Musk's group.
Yeah.
Because what's going to happen in 3.5 years if a Democrat wins the White House? They're certainly not going to continue to partner with Musk's group, given his allegiance to the Republican Party and Trump in particular. And now, what have you done? You've neutered NASA for the better part of 4 years, and then you're going to come back to them and
Since
say,
the
"Okay,
80s.
well, but I mean,
I would say, yeah, NASA's been neutered for
but
a
I mean,
long time.
But I mean, even worse now, right? Like before, we were still setting up the space shuttle. We were doing some stuff.
Right.
Like now, you don't hear anything coming out of NASA, and
because our government is too big and too bloated. We
No.
can't do it cost
well,
effectively.
but in 4 years,
private
when
sector will do it way faster, way cheaper.
But what does that mean? Private sector.
Private sector should be well. I mean,
Musk, like SpaceX.
No, because look at Musk and SpaceX, and he's the private sector. What has he actually done with our money that we couldn't do at NASA, where we have the public funds? We went to the moon.
Yeah,
Come on.
yeah.
We can still
Tom doesn't
do that.
believe we went to
It's
the moon.
about spending
Tom
money.
never said that.
It's about spending money correctly into the
Government-
infrastructure that we want. You could say
Government's
government,
the
but it's
last thing to spend money responsibly. That is my.
it
I will
depends on
die on
who's
that
on
hill.
charge.
And
I
I will
agree with you on
I will
that,
die on that
except
hill.
Okay, you
can
guys can't talk
change
over each
that.
other. This is radio, so you got to remember
Sorry.
not to talk over each other.
I
'cause
apologize.
On the listener side, it just becomes this
Garble.
crumbled garble. You've heard it before when we've done it on this show before. You know what I'm talking about.
I have comments from the chat.
What do you got, boss baby?
We have Bruce with that's not a true comment. SpaceX has done more than NASA in fewer years.
What have they done?
So yeah, Bruce, put
that
in the chat. Here's the thing to keep in mind with SpaceX. Up until recently, I would say the last 5 years or so, they weren't receiving government funds. I don't believe. I think
they were all privately funded and built to a point. But after they exceeded what NASA could do, the government started saying, "Hey, we could use a ride."
Yeah. Here, so Lila, let me ask this question. I think privatizing some of this stuff, like allowing external forces to get involved, makes a difference, right? Like the polio vaccine did not come from government researchers. It came from private researchers who were pursuing a patent. Essentially, they saw dollar signs. A lot of the stuff that we've had, health treatment wise, AIDS research was done not through a lot of government programs. There was some government funding out there, but they went to private agencies and private entities. I feel like when we get outside of the government encapsulation of things, we're allowing people to think a little more freely, a little more out of the box. Do you not agree?
No, I think the government funding for like pharmaceuticals and stuff happens a lot in colleges and things of that nature, and that's where they get their grants. The private sector then picks up those products cheap and then resells it to the American population. We should actually spend more of our money into that, because that is a good service that we can all agree on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they are spending the money as best they can, as cheaply as possible. But things get expensive. If you don't actually spend the money, you're not going to get the services.
Well, yeah,
that
politicians are very expensive. So
yes, they are.
Yeah. And we can overhaul that if we wanted to. It takes a lot to change systemic things, but we're butting up against the ruling class that doesn't want to do that. We have a ruling class right now that has changed the tax code to favor them. They've changed a lot of rules to favor them, like stocks, that they're able to trade stocks and everything. They're not allowed to, quote unquote, but it's a little fine if they get caught. And even so, and
I agree with you
and things
completely.
like that, you know, the insider trading, Trump stuff. When he did
So
it-
hold on, Lila. That's not fair,
Pelosi
though.
stuff.
But that's everybody in
Pelosi
government. Right?
No, what I was saying is, bringing up Trump, is that his tariffs freaked out the market a few weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
And then he said, "Oopsie daisy, I'm just kidding," and then just shot up like a rocket. That's insider trading that he made money off of. His meme coin makes money,
Yeah,
and that
and-
is
and-
a total scandal right in of itself.
All of our
this Trump plane
politicians.
that you got on here, that's a freaking scandal.
Yeah, we'll
He
get to that
shouldn't be
later.
able to get.
I can't
get
believe that.
And then it's going to go to his library, please.
Yeah, it'll go to his library after they put about 3 million miles on it, and he's toured all over the world. Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Don't take a black light in the back.
Yeah, if you haven't heard about Trump's new airplane, just hold on. We'll get to that later in the show.
But this is a palace. It's a floating palace.
Yeah,
Sure.
it's gonna be huge. Gonna be huge.
Bigly.
Like your ego.
Like whose ego, Kevin?
Like Trump's ego.
Trump's ego.
Not yours.
Not yours?
No, mine. My ego's not huge. What are you talking about? I'm very modest. I'm a very modest man. I live a modest life of modest means. I'm not very high on myself. Fucking boss baby. All
Actually,
right.
boss baby, I'll come to Kevin's defense here. I don't think he can afford Trump's ego.
No.
I mean, they are in different tax brackets.
They are in way different tax brackets. Listen, the insider trading thing you bring up is really valid, but
It's just one of the ways that our ruling class does things.
yeah.
that-
Well, don't ever ask me how, and I'll make both parties. Don't ask me how Mitch McConnell or how what's her name, our state senator, mom in tennis shoes.
Cantwell.
No, the other one.
Yeah.
For
crying
God's
out loud.
sake, she's just the worst senator I've ever seen. I can't
Patty
remember.
Murray. Patty Murray.
So Schumer and Patty Murray, how they both came in from really humble beginnings, and now they're worth millions upon millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of dollars.
Well, it's because they
How
know
does that
people in
happen?
places.
Well, how does that happen? Because they got their nose to the grindstone and they know what's going to happen before it happens. They know what bills are going to pass before the bills pass. They know how money's going to get spent before stuff gets spent, so they can buy their little stocks and trade their stocks ahead of time.
And Big Pharma owns 2/3 of our politicians.
Yeah.
So I mean, and that's
Yeah.
not party lines. So
like the pharma owning our politicians pretty bad. We can do something about that by nationalizing our pharmaceuticals. That will
no, we have
lower
to go the other
prices.
way. Man,
No.
shrink the government, make the government barely operational.
But when we see other countries that do this, they see take healthcare.
Argentina is doing great, and they just went libertarian.
Yeah, so
The first country on the planet to go libertarian.
And they'll be the last.
And no, their stock market is doing great. Argentina is doing amazing right now.
Stock market is terrible.
No,
terrible.
no, they're
it's a ruling class type of thing where they can gamble,
but it's all deregulated.
and that's it.
Yeah, but
that's
after
the point. Even when
after
when
you
it's
deregulate
deregulated, you're going to have those crashes.
But
every
everyone-
5 to 7 years, capitalism fails.
Sure, it is absolutely a gamble, but if it's deregulated, everyone gets a fair shake at it.
No, it creates grifters. The thing that we're going on right now with the meme coins and Bitcoin, that is an MLM. It's a pyramid scheme. If you get in, you get money. That's a grift.
Right,
We want
but-
to outlaw that.
But we're massively regulated right now, and it works great, doesn't it?
I think we should be more regulated. I don't think so. The deregulation has created massive inequalities. Capital gains tax is the biggest problem and needs to be higher. The fact that we're taxed more for our wage and labor than it is for money making more money, that should be a big issue for everybody.
We have to have some regulation. I will agree, some, but we've gone way over. Why does someone need a license to be a fortune teller? That's a real thing. $120 a month in Georgia.
Hey,
why do you need a license or why
That's
do you
not
need a
stock
license to
market.
cut hair?
Because we
Right.
want
No, I'm
people
just talking
to-
about regulations,
No,
period. Right.
I know that, and I understand that. It's silly. It's actually easier to become a police officer than even
Right.
a caregiver myself. You know, I have to go through certification and
Sure,
everything to
sure.
be able to take care of your mom and dad.
Right. And again, some regulation I'll agree is good. And we should have some regulation when it comes to healthcare and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need shady stuff happening there.
But we should also have regulation for the ruling class that own these properties.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't be able to do the things that they do to swindle the rest of us. That's what regulation is. It's laws against that in an economic policy sense.
No, if we take away the regulation and the loopholes and we give everyone an even playing field,
What does that mean?
where you land is where you land. Then it becomes a measure of your effort and your dedication towards doing something.
I think the argument would be, though, is that you could never completely level the playing field. Like you could say, okay,
Right.
we've leveled the playing
No,
field.
you'll never. Life will never be fair.
Well, no,
it's
no,
never
but-
going to
but
be
I
a
mean-
level playing field in that regard.
But I mean, hold on, let me finish what I'm saying though, because people are going to have a head start from the beginning.
Sure.
So even if you leveled the playing field, working under, I think part of what Lila is talking about, you're still going to have the ruling class that has amassed all this money, that has amassed all this power, that has amassed a head start. And if we've seen anything in this country from, this is my opinion, in racial equality, the reason why I think we lag in racial equality is because white people had a big head start.
100%.
And the African American community specifically is still playing catch up. And it's really hard to play catch up. It's really hard to catch up in a race when you got a big giant boulder tied to your ankle slowing you down.
Right. Well, and in the early, early days, after emancipation, I mean, we still had plenty of regulations that were not fairly applied, making Jim Crow laws, etc.
Right.
Black
those
Wall
are
Street burning
those
down.
are regulations.
Bombing.
That's the problem. If you take those regulations away and say all people are equal, all people are fair, everyone is the same, where's the loopholes?
Tracy agrees with me, by the way. Thank you, Tracy. I know I'm always right. I appreciate that. Okay. Bruce is not happy. Bruce said bye-bye tonight. Good luck. Maybe get a knowledgeable person even on the opposition side. This is nonsense. Sorry. It's okay, Bruce. We'll see you next week.
I love you.
Yeah, we love you, Bruce.
I wanted to, Robert said, we are so far overregulated and overtaxed for everything under the sun, and they are literally advocating for more taxes and more regulation. So stupid. What is our current tax system? We're overtaxed already, but that's not true.
Hold on a minute. You don't think we're overtaxed?
No.
Okay. Let me. I think you probably heard me say this.
And
on the
I
show
mean
before.
this in terms of the people that should be taxed aren't paying their fair share. Those are the people that own the means of production.
So hold on. So let's break this into two groups then. We have the working. Let's call it the working class or the bourgeoisie or whatever.
No, the proletariat.
The proletariat.
And then
okay.
the bourgeoisie is
I'm
capitalist class.
Trying to learn your terms.
I understand.
Get it. I'm working with this. Okay. So the proletariat, the working class, the people who are the worker bees, are they undertaxed or overtaxed?
I think they're taxed just fine for right now.
I so totally disagree with you.
Well, they should get more of their money back, yes, but we have an infrastructure to pay for society. There are things that we want to pay for. One of them is not the military. I'm sorry. We're paying far too much for our military, and that's a lot of waste that we can put this back into the pharmaceuticals. And I'm not saying the pharmaceutical company, I'm talking about the people that actually do the work and
research and development
to develop these things. And what Trump has done and cut all of these funding, these are programs that help us enormously. I understand that people don't like the mRNA vaccine, the COVID vaccine, but that's research that we got done by pumping in money to vastly get this produced for us to be able to come outside again, and no private company was going to do that. I'm sorry. They're not going to do that. They're only going to do it if we pony up our tax dollars
to motivate them to do it.
Exactly.
But then those private companies made
then they reappropriate that technology that the working class produced and sell it back to us at a percentage. But this is something that we bought. Why are we rebuying it? Just because they have a patent, a copyright? Bullshit.
Yeah. Well,
we wouldn't give this.
That's the same idea though as property taxes then, because if I've bought a piece of property and I own it, why do I have to pay for it again? It's mine.
Because you're using the infrastructure of the area, and we need to reinvest into that area, especially suburbs, because suburbs lose money.
Not necessarily.
Yes,
I pay property tax on equipment I use here in the distillery.
Right. You are a capitalist.
Right.
You are what we call the petty bourgeoisie. Do you own this?
Nope.
So you actually have to pay a capitalist, a rentier, that sucks up your money more than the government does.
Oh, I beg to differ with you. I beg to differ.
Remember,
with
he's
you.
a distillery, though. So one thing to keep in mind, Lila, is the distillery's got so many layers of.
Yes, because that's how we regulate alcohol and et cetera, and we put those in place to make sure that you don't get a head start. I'm glad that you got a head start. And the fact is that Budweiser and other corporations put these regulations in to make sure to keep you down. That was a big thing in Washington years ago, I remember.
Alcohol laws have very little to do with Budweiser and Anheuser-Busch.
No, they come in. They're like
Alcohol-
Comcast. They're like Comcast. They come in. They get a monopoly on the infrastructure and say that you cannot now build your own, or other people can put in that service.
Oh no, they're subject to the same ridiculousness I get from the ATF. It's the other way around. The United States has been taxing alcohol separately for as long as we've been a country.
And I know that, and I understand that. That's not what I'm
that-
saying, though.
but
I'm saying that there are the regulations that are put in place are drafted by these bigger corporations to keep you down, to make sure that you cannot break into the business.
Well, I
that's
mean,
what I'm trying to say, and that's ridiculous.
In an indirect manner, you're right, because those big corporations have purchased those politicians.
Yes, and that's horrible. That's terrible.
All right, you guys are killing me. So hold on. So what I've got is is it fair to call you a leftist? Is that appropriate
You
term?
can call me a Marxist if you want.
Well, I want to call you whatever is.
I know you
whatever
can just say I'm on the left, if you want
So,
to, but
Marxist, leftist, whatever. And then over here we have the libertarian, and you guys are literally going to make my head explode. These are really valid arguments and discussions.
And we're in the weeds.
But the problem is, here's the problem, right? The problem is that I don't know if there's middle ground. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if there's a middle ground between Tom's staunch, the government needs to get out, needs to not be involved, needs not to regulate, needs to get out of the way and let everybody have an equal stake. And Lila's, the government needs to be involved. We need the regulations. We need to protect the working class from the ruling class. Like you guys are so diametrically opposed.
But what's so funny about it, because I have a loved one that is Lila, you and my loved one could sit and have coffee and you're
talking about F-bomb?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, F-bomb's more libertarian like me.
I used to be a libertarian.
Did you?
Okay. Now, at the end of the day, we want to get to the same place. We just don't agree on how we want to get there.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's a difference in our government from 1800 to 1900 to 2000.
There's no difference?
No. Our government has been a very consistent thing throughout, and it's always been that good old boys club, that special interest club, that rules for thee, not for me, fleece the pie. I mean, American politics have always been dirty. So the only solution I can think of is to make the government as small as possible and make it kind of on a starvation diet. Because if it's on a starvation diet, there's no money to steal, because you have to pay the soldiers and you have to pay the cops and you have to pay the firefighters and you got to fill the potholes. There's no change left over to steal. You make it as minimal as possible.
But we're not getting the services that we know that we all should have. That's where taxes should go to, is these services, like the post office. They want to privatize the post office.
They already have.
No, they haven't.
Well, it's this weird bastardization of it.
Yeah, and
it's
that's terrible. And it
it's
completely ruined the service.
Yes, agree.
And
get the government out of it. It'll be done better.
No, because what happens when you privatize something? Then this capitalist is going to take the surplus labor value that is created by the workers and pocket it, not going back into the system, not going back into the wages or going to other areas needed. It's wasted wealth to stockpile like a effing dragon, and it's horrible. That's not how we should be spending tax money.
But if everyone has that opportunity, because they're not held down by government regulation, if everyone has the opportunity to go out and make a buck, we all do great.
We can do that, but what I'm talking about is just services that the government, and when I say is the government is for the people, and we should recognize that as a service that we all want to have. We want these services, do we not?
Well, I guess it depends on what we define as services that the government's responsible for.
Right.
That's probably the place that this has to start.
That's the hard part of the conversation.
What should we have as a society say that everybody universally has this? The United States said the post office was one place that they said that we needed. for communication, for other things.
But
And
then
it was a wonderful service.
Right, but I mean,
And-
we can agree communication has evolved, right? You don't have to put a letter on the back of a horse and send it,
Right.
you
The
know,
capitalist
rider
class
after
will
rider.
lose their ads. That's basically what it's used for.
Oh,
now.
I know.
It's-
That's all it's
and
used
But I mean, now we
terrible,
send an
but-
email,
Right.
right?
I
That's
understand
what I
that,
mean
but,
by the
but
evolution.
we still need like packages delivered. They're
Sure.
the end of service point, and the capitalists don't want to go that extra mile to the end. The United States Postal Service is required to, and so they actually get a great price on that service. If you left it up to the capitalists, they would jack up the price because they can.
I would argue that UPS is more efficient than USPS, and within
because it's fragmented
and
now.
it's
Well, hold
probably
on.
within 5 or 10%.
I'm going to blow some people's brains up when I say this. And one of my very best friends works for the Postal Service. I love the guy. He's only about 3 feet tall, but I love you anyway, Sam. I would be told, you know what I'm talking about. I would be totally fine if the USPS ceased to exist tomorrow. If only because we have mastered ways in this country of doing the exact same job electronically. Email is free, and writing a letter is 57 cents. All they do is send ads through it now, which if I'm a business owner, I'm not putting any ad in the mail
No, I
because
don't either.
nobody reads it, nobody pays attention to it, and I use it to start my barbecue grill when I'm going to grill in the
It would be eco-friendly to just knock it off.
Boss
You know
baby.
how many trees you'd save?
I do regular business via mail.
Do you really?
Do you?
A lot of people
Sure do.
What
Like,
for? What
that's
kind of
the only way.
business?
Real estate.
For real estate. Well, that's but that's because you've got to have signed documents, original signatures, all that kind of stuff. No.
Nothing. It's all advertising.
Okay.
And then you
Listen,
have people like on Etsy and stuff like that. They have to send out their products and everything.
Yeah, but you could do that
You could
through private companies. I mean,
It's more
UPS or
expensive though
FedEx
because
or-
it's more. But
Man,
it
that's
jack
true,
up
man.
the price, and the USPS keeps it low because it's a government service that we want to keep low. And the more that we invest in it, the better the infrastructure, the cheaper the prices for all of us. There's not that private surplus value that needs to go to the capitalist. And that's what I mean. Needs to go.
Why?
That profit is wasted value that we can put back into the system. Why do we want a service that extracts that surplus value from it?
I'm no Amazon fan, but I would argue that
They're terrible.
Amazon has probably got a more expansive and more efficient delivery system than the USPS.
And if we would have invested into our postal service the same way, we could have that at a cheaper price without the working conditions of a freaking sweatshop.
Right. But hold on. Here's the cross end. This is what Paul would probably say if Paul was here. Paul would say, but if I'm the business owner, if I'm the guy that starts the company, right? I'm taking the risk to invest my own money into creating a business to deliver a service or a widget, right? So let's use let's use the mail example, right? I create FedEx and I use my own money to buy trucks and planes and all the stuff that we have to do to create a company. If there is a bonus to be made, shouldn't I keep that bonus as earnings from the investment that I put in? Because if my investment fails, I don't get any of that back. So there's no motivation for me to open a business or think outside of the box or create something if there's not a win for me on the other side.
And that's has to do with profit, is that
Yeah.
win. I understand the argument. I don't have a good answer for it. Holly probably has a better answer than I do. It's about buying the means of production, the workers' tools, and the workers that are creating that value, and they're just not getting a good, fair shake at that value. So, like, we can have that profit incentive, but why does it have to be this much? It just keeps growing and growing and growing, and then we.
So you're not about people not. I'm going to overly simplify this. You're not against, let's say, Elon. You're not against Elon making money to come back from the investment.
No, that's our capitalist system.
But I think what you're asking for is, why isn't there a cap?
Yeah.
Why does that profit grow exponentially when he doesn't? Why would he be a 300 billionaire when he could be a 1 billionaire and his life wouldn't change? And where does all those other funds
one
go?
life, boss baby.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine. Two things. One, please don't forget that Amazon brought a lot of money to us locally. because it was started right here.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
And they do
And
employ a
you're-
lot of people locally too, which I think is important
Absolutely.
to keep in
And I
mind.
wish they paid
That's-
more taxes.
I wish they
I
paid their
get-
people more.
Yes. That
Sorry,
either
Boss
either
Baby,
the
go ahead.
taxes
Yeah,
or
no,
the
it's
wages. Go ahead.
And the other thing is you're sitting in a room with two business owners. So it's hard for us, I'm sure, to listen that you want to cap our
Potential.
You want to cap our potential.
So
fine.
nothing of great importance has ever been created or invented out of the kindness of the heart.
The steam engine was created by an education program back then in England.
Right.
That created the steam engine to kick off capitalism. That was a
Right.
government.
The steam engine.
That was not a privatization thing. This was a government funding, seeing that education is good and saying, "Hey, let's get these people together.
Right.
Let's pay for them to create and build this." That
it's
was
the idea of-
that wasn't a private thing, though.
But it's the idea of a tech school nowadays creating AI or whatever. It's the same idea. The cotton gin was not created.
Eli Whitney.
As a means of like bettering life. It was meant to make money.
Yeah. Well, a lot of stuff that we've come up with has been derived to make money, right? Like Harry Ford when he created the assembly line.
Right.
Was
Efficiency.
was the intent so that he could turn out, I think at the beginning he was producing 5 vehicles a day.
Right.
When it wasn't on the assembly line, and then he was able to climb it up to 3,000 cars a day on the assembly line.
Yeah.
You know,
Because it just
in the
scales
early
up.
1920s. I
Right.
mean,
it scales up.
yeah, I respect what you're
af-
saying.
So after all that production is done, the labor that is put in, and then he gets to create the end. He owns the end product, but he hasn't actually put any labor into it. He just owns the equipment. But
Mhm.
in our capitalist society, we say that that is his private property. Let me go back to the small business owners. Small business owners are much different than what I'm talking about when it comes to the means of production. These are people that just own vast amounts of property that they don't actually use to create anything. They just get an end product and then they're able to sell it back to us. They want to keep our wages low, then we can't buy their products. That's a contradiction within capitalism. That's why we have a recession every 5 to 7 years.
So you're saying it's less about the boss babies and the Toms as small business owners as it is about the Musks, the Boeings, the Warehousers, the Microsofts, right?
The monopolies.
The monopoly corporations that have okay.
Those are what we need to target as a society that has been a detriment. They have done some wonderful things. Thank you. But like iPhones, all the technology that they used to create it was created by the government. They just put it together in a different way. And that's wonderful. But, our government funding and everything has fund massive amounts of stuff that we just don't actually realize that the government does pay for.
Yeah.
And it's just appropriated by capitalists to resell back to us at this enormous profit while paying their workers very little. They just get away with cutting their benefits. It doesn't have to be directly their wages, but their benefits, like health insurance, pensions. They got rid of pensions in the 80s, basically, for a 401k. That is garbage. It destroyed the 3-legged pillar of Social Security, pensions, and your own savings. It was supposed to be a 3-legged pillar that they created. They've knocked one down.
Yeah.
And then they want to put it in stock market so they play with it so they can get fees.
I would say they've knocked 2 of them down because people can't even maintain a savings account.
We can't. We can't.
But
even
listen.
save.
But hold on. So let's look at what happens in. And I'm going to use China for example. Right?
They're a state-run capitalist society. They're capitalists.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Just make sure.
But I'm just saying, strong central government.
Globally, we're all capitalists. There's no getting around it. Because
yes, capitalism has taken over the world finally.
Well, it's always been.
No,
because even in the Stone Age or the Bronze Age,
that wasn't capitalism back then.
Yes, it was. We traded. That's capitalism.
Capitalism is not trading. Trading has been around forever. Capitalism is an invention that is only 400 years old, created in Europe.
And the key difference is accumulating a profit, right?
No. Capitalism was created through the use of private property. There was a time when there wasn't such a thing as private property. there was peasants living on feudal lands. And what happened is they just created these laws that said, now we're going to class this as private property. We're going to kick you off these lands that you've always lived on. You cannot collect firewood. You cannot hunt. You can't do those
Well,
things.
that was at the whim of a monarch. That was very different times.
The 1600s, the England had a parliamentary they were just creating. They just overthrew. They kept the monarchy as a symbol, but really they were parliamentary for about 450 years or so. The creation of private property.
They weren't effectively a parliamentary.
They were learning and growing.
Right.
Like
right. So I mean, the 1600s you're still dealing with a monarchy and the whim of
yes and no, but
a vassal.
There was a case, a very famous case that had to do with playing cards, and everything in England was developed by monopolies. They had monopoly bricks, they had monopoly cards. It was everything that you would buy came from one company. They didn't like that, so they broke that up, and because of playing cards, somebody went to the Queen, said, "We want a monopoly on playing cards," and the Queen gave it. But there's this, I don't know the gentleman's name, but he argued that that was wrong, and it was actually turned out that they won the case.
Right. Well,
I wish I had more information. It's just,
competition drives innovation. I mean, monopolies are the worst possible thing.
So really quick, Holly got blocked from posting comments in chat. I assume Facebook flagged something that she said. So let me just remind all of you that while we on this show will not censor or tell you what you can or cannot say, we are still subject to our alien overlords who do try to censor what you can or cannot say, and they will regulate what they're going to regulate. So I've told Holly that she can go to YouTube and make comments through our stuff on the YouTube page. She can also send them to me privately if she'd like to, and I'll try to navigate screens to do that. But I
have a feeling there's some other shadow ban happening because I can't do all the things with all our comments right now.
Oh, really? There's some other stuff going on? Okay.
Yeah.
So my recommendation is that you guys just be careful what you post, not because I care, because I really don't care, but because the alien overlords do care. And Facebook and even on YouTube, you're not any clearer to post what you want to on YouTube. I have suggested on the show before and gotten pushback from the listeners that we set up our own chat room. And you guys have kind of pushed back against that and not wanted to do that. This is why I wish we did. Because the idea that Facebook or YouTube or anybody else would silence you guys being able to comment to me is completely un-American. I don't like it.
I don't even know what she said.
I don't know either. And she said she didn't either. She said she hasn't started cursing yet. So I don't know what she posted, but we don't I think one time in this show's history have we banned somebody. And it was a really valid reason. Come up on my page, spewed racist stuff. You're gone. But Facebook is famous for doing it. I once got booted off of Facebook for 30 days because I mentioned that I had ants in my house, and if I couldn't get rid of the ants, I was going to burn my house to the ground. And they kicked me off of Facebook for 30 days.
I remember that.
Yeah, I was so mad, man. Like it was a joke. But then I got banned. Yeah, then I got banned. So, all right. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to go to break here in a couple of minutes. We'll have the bumper break coming up around the corner. When we come out of that, I'm actually going into some topics. And the first thing I'm going to bring up is what has become our favorite topic to talk about lately, which is Tara Simmons on the North End. We're going to share the latest post that she made. I'm anxious to get Lila's thought on this as somebody more to the left side of the spectrum politically. But we will talk about Tara, and I will share with you that Tara will not be able to hear what we're about to say about her because Tara has blocked all of us. Because
not true.
She didn't block you?
Pretty sure nobody did.
Nobody blocked you. You're like an innocent.
Holly has blocked me, but
you're Switzerland.
I've been blocked for years.
Okay.
But
so,
I'm Switzerland for everyone else.
Yeah, we'll talk about Tara. We'll get to the bottom of that. Coming up later in the show, Trump's getting a new plane.
Ridiculous.
I'm flabbergasted. I can't imagine it's legal or constitutional. I am your constitutional scholar, and I cannot find any way how this is legal or allowed. And so someone's going to sue and he'll probably lose. Gosh, yeah. So we got a lot to talk about. So
and Whisper app.
Oh, and the Whisper app. Let's do that really quick, shall we? I'm scared to even do this now. So I'm going to share in the chat the Whisper app. So Sarah Ha has gone bye-bye. I said last week on the show that I was going to put the Sarah Ha link so people could give us anonymous messages.
I have a question.
And hold on. And so I went to go open up Sarah Ha tonight, and Sarah Ha was shut down. It is no longer a thing. Makes me very, very sad. I like Sarah Ha, even though all their stuff was in Arabic and I couldn't read Arabic.
Yeah,
That's where I was going.
Yeah.
Is the Whisper app by chance based in an English speaking part of
Yes.
the globe?
I don't know.
used
I don't know anything about it.
Oh, so people are going to use it this time.
Yeah. So I have posted the link. I have posted the link for the Whisper app. You can go to Whisper. You can submit your anonymous questions and comments. I'm going to tell you the same thing I've told you every time I've done this. If you go open an anonymous app and you're just going to be a douche, I'm not going to read it. So if your comment is Lila is blah, 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 or Kevin is blah, 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 or Tom is blah, blah, I'm not going to read it. Like if you're just going to send hateful stuff, all I need to do is go back and talk to some of my ex-girlfriends. Okay. I don't need that. All right. But if you have actual comments or real questions you want to ask and you want to attribute your name to it, then you're good to go. So go ahead and share those.
Let's get some actual questions
Let's do
and
that.
everything like that.
We'll do that.
Are there
Not the
any
hate.
questions in there now?
I just posted it. So I don't believe so unless you posted some because you're the only one that had access to it. But let me go look at the
It wasn't
inbox.
me.
There was a question here. Do you love Boss Baby? Always, all day, every day.
Yay.
Clearly, Boss Baby posted that.
Surely
So,
it wasn't me.
all right, Dennis is going to take us to bumper break. We'll take a quick 2-minute break. We come back. We'll get into our first topic. We'll continue to have Lila here. I think Lila's hanging out for the whole show. Is
You
that right?
posted the wrong app,
Yep.
Kevin.
I did?
Oh, no.
What did I post?
You posted one of the non-found.
Do not go to Pornhub.
Well, hold on. I just copied the handle.
Be
God
back after
damn
the
it!
break.
I hate you, Zuckerberg!
You're listening to the Outlaw Radio Network. Well, I guess you're watching kind of, huh? Back with more after this.
Admin a la carte are specialized local experts committed to helping you run your small business. From general admin and sales support to marketing, digital media and technology to real estate and compliance, Admin a la carte's only goal is to take your business to the next level. Find out how Admin a la carte can elevate your business. Visit admin-alacarte.com for more information. That's admin-alacarte.com. Admin a la carte. Your business doesn't fit into a box. Why should you have to?
Are you ready to elevate your spirits? Look no further than Black Ring Spirits, your local craft distillery nestled in Town Square Mall. Indulge in the smooth richness of our handcrafted spirits, meticulously distilled to perfection. Whether you prefer the bold kick of our bourbon or the subtle sophistication of our gin, Black Ring Spirits has something for every palate. Visit us today at Town Square Mall and experience the essence of true craftsmanship. Black Ring Spirits, where passion is perfection, unconventionally traditional. On a recent episode of the Outlaw Radio Network,
some of our listeners even appreciated you dumbing it down for them. So, on behalf
Sometimes
of Paul,
I have to
thank you.
mansplain for people like. By the way, mansplaining is when men explain things to a woman in a condescending tone. I just mansplaining.
That's the Outlaw Radio Network, Sunday nights at their new time from 6 to 10.
This is Spike Cohen. This is Jesse Young.
I'm Brandy Cruz, host of the Undivided Podcast.
And you're listening to
my friends on the Outlaw
the
Outlaw Radio Network.
All right, we're not going to do the anonymous thing tonight because clearly the link that we're working on is. You got it working? God, Boss Baby's amazing. Hold on, is that really going to work? Hold on, let's find out.
It's a computer. Of course you got it working.
All right. We'll see if it works. We'll see if people send. Somebody sent in a test question.
She's an Apple girl. Get it right.
She is an Apple girl. That's true. All right. So listen, for those of you who have not been following along, let me set the stage. Several weeks ago, we had Tara Simmons on here. A couple months ago, we had a great talk with her. We always did. It was a great conversation. Then a whole bunch of stories started coming out about Tara. Now I'm gonna be honest. I'm not throwing Paul under the bus, but a lot of this was Paul's
investigation,
right? Paul expressed concerns about the vacations that she's been going on, because it really does seem like she takes a vacation every other Tuesday. He also brought up some stuff about her leaving the nonprofit that she founded. He had a whole bunch of questions and he made a whole bunch of comments. Now, I don't have an issue with that, right? You're in the public eye. You're an elected official. You're under a little bit different level of scrutiny, okay? And that's how it should be for everybody. So I'm not picking on Tara because she's a Dem. I actually really like Tara. Really, really like Tara. And frankly, my feelings are a little hurt because I'm a snowflake that she's responded to me specifically in the show in general the way that she has. But I digress. Then it came out in the news that Tara had gotten her felony criminal conviction record expunged. And she did that through her seatmate, Drew
McEwen.
Thank you, Drew McEwen. So as a state representative, she had another state representative help her get her record expunged so that she could then own a firearm. At which point I said, and I don't deny this, and I'm not going to back off of it, and I sure as hell am not going to apologize for it. Boy, that certainly sounds like a little bit of privilege at work. Because it's not something that she could have done had she not been, let's be honest, a person in power in the state of Washington. The average Joe Schmo in this state with a felony on their record cannot get a state representative to work behind the scenes for him and get their record expunged. Now, if Tara had came out and said, Drew did this for me, I'm going to do this for other people. I want that to be when I'm not in service and I'm not doing my time as a state representative,
state duties,
then I want to create a nonprofit where we help people get restored their civil rights after they've served their time, paid all their fines, done everything that they need to do. Now, you could argue whether or not that is something she should be doing. But that to me would be reasonable.
I'm not against it.
Yeah.
I think that's part of reasonable rehabilitation.
Yeah.
And I think our justice system needs some very deep rehabilitation.
Right. So, and I'm not advocating that she does that. I'm just saying then the argument that I had about her being a little bit of a privileged princess would go out the window, because she would say, this is the benefit that I got, and this is how I want to give it back to people that are in similar situations to me that just don't happen to be state representatives. But she didn't do that. Okay. Then there's a whole bunch of other stuff that came up. The Linwood Daily Birdcage Liner, whatever the name of that newspaper is, ran a story that was off of things that Brandy Cruz talked about. And they're making a lot of accusations and things about Tara. And then we had Brandy on a couple weeks ago. Brandy talked about it. Paul talked about it. I talked about it. We all talked about it.
Oh, yeah,
and,
Kevin.
Yeah.
There's no one of those guests.
Huh?
That you were giving me grief about earlier.
Oh, Brandy?
Yeah.
Shut up, Tom. And so in passing, I mentioned, well, it's interesting, or maybe Paul mentioned, one of us mentioned, it's interesting that, she hates guns and wants to regulate guns, wants to get rid of assault weapons. But we've got photos of her shooting a semi-automatic rifle.
AR-15.
AR-15. I assume it's semi-automatic.
Yes.
Okay.
That's how they're built.
Well, and you can't make them fully automatic in this state. It's illegal. So I can't imagine that.
I was going to say, you don't say can't.
No, you
You're
can't
not
legally.
supposed to.
You can't legally.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. But if you take the firing pin out, if you change the firing pin.
No, it's a trigger mechanism.
Oh, trigger mechanism?
But
Okay.
you can get the plans off the internet.
Oh, yeah.
Print one on your 3D printer.
Anybody could. I could do it. I'm an idiot. So anyway, so we discussed with Brandy in passing, and then Brandy reached out to us and said, well, where did you see that? We showed her where we saw it. And then Brandy did this wide open expose ripping Tara for being a hypocrite. You can't vote against a semi-automatic rifle ban and then be at the local gun range shooting off a semi-automatic rifle
with a high cap mag.
Yeah, with a high capacity magazine, which you also supported getting rid of. Now, I thought Brandy had great points, and I think there were fair questions, right? Like, Tara, if you believe this, why did you do this? Like, those are fair questions for an elected representative. I don't care who you are. Travis Couture, who I like, Tara Simmons, whom I like. I don't care. Those are valid questions. Tara is now so upset with us that she's blocked all of us. which I will tell you is illegal because she does state business on her page. And legally in the state of Washington, if you're doing state business on your personal Facebook page, it becomes a state page and you cannot block people from it. And the state Supreme Court has ruled on that. Okay. So technically, she's already in violation of the law. Am I going to make a complaint? No, because I don't care that much. I mean, I'm not that vested in Tara Simmons that I'm going to go complain and file a FOIA request, accusation, whatever I'm supposed to do. Robert Parker can tell me what I need to do. I'm not going to do it. But it tells me the quality of the integrity of the person that we're dealing with. If you're so offended at the fact that we've asked questions and we've provided information to other media outlets to ask questions, and by the way, when the fuck did we become the source for all other media organizations to get their stuff from? Like, we had fucking Todd Best kicked out of a goddamn Starbucks. That came from us. It went all over the sound. And now you got Brandy Cruz like, oh shit, they talked about it on Outlaw. I'm going to do a whole hour about it. What the? Why am I not getting the advertising dollars? Anyway, back to my point. I'm sorry. Loose cannon just for a second. I'm sorry. I lost myself.
You all right?
If you can't handle having the questions asked, Tara, and I like you, like I really do. I genuinely like Tara. Like I would take Tara to Hamilton. I would have a beer with Tara. I would go to karaoke with Tara. I would pal around with Tara. I would go on a cruise with Tara. I would go to the casino with Tara. I don't care. I like Tara as a person. I would do all those things with you, boss baby, but you're now off the market. The fact that her response to this is, well, I'm just going to block them and I'm not going to answer their questions and I'm going to act like they don't exist. That pisses me off because that's not the role of an elected representative, regardless of party. And what I feel like is that Tara has taken this. I came from a challenged beginning and challenged upraising, which she did. I have a past that I am embarrassed about, which she is. I paid my time in society. I went through prison. I did all the things I needed to do to get myself put together and get my life back on track. I completed law school. I petitioned the Washington State Supreme Court to allow me to practice law in the state of Washington, which I normally would not have been allowed to do. But because of my hard work and dedication and commitment to the cause and to re-evolving who I am, I was able to make all those things happen. And now I'm a state representative, which in normal situations, I never could have been because of how people judge convicted felons and all of that, right? I commend all of that. I love that story. That is completely American. Every Republican, I don't care who you are, every Republican should look at Tara Simmons and go, that's exactly the way you're supposed to do it.
100%.
Yeah. You pay your debt to society. You get out. You make your life better than what it was when you got there. You redeem yourself. You make yourself valuable to your community. That's exactly what Tara's done.
And she was demonized for it.
Well, she was demonized really bad by Republicans for it, but she was not on this show. She's now turned herself into a martyr and a victim. And she's neither a martyr nor is she a victim. The minute you become an elected representative, an elected position at any level in this state, you cease to become a martyr and a victim. You become somebody on the inside who's able to enforce change.
Well, you also need to be held to account by the people.
And you should. If you can't enforce that change, the question is why. Now, Republicans can't enforce change in the state because they're such a minority in the legislature.
Right.
And I've said before, I don't know why you would ever vote for a Republican in the state. Like, not that I don't love Travis Couture or Dan Griffey, and I love Jesse Young, but what is the value? What is the return on investment if you vote for a Republican for the legislature in this state?
Balance.
But there's no balance.
Right.
And
right now.
And no matter who votes for whom, there will not be balance. The legislature is trending more and more progressive left and less conservative. So it would not make any sense to me today to vote for a Republican, especially in this district in the 26th. Now, I would argue if you're in Belfair, voting for Travis and voting for Dan makes a lot more sense because they more closely align to your values and the values of that community as a whole.
But I mean, what you're talking about right now, though, happened this last election nationwide. It just didn't happen in the United States.
But it didn't happen in Washington
Yeah,
because
or-
we did not have
I'm
a
sorry, yeah,
supermajority.
Washington.
Democrats did not have a supermajority in the legislature prior to this, and they do now.
Right, but I mean, the political pendulum is just doing what it does. It's swinging the other way. Washington hasn't caught up yet.
So back to Tara. I like Tara. And I'm willing to do what Tara we did the first time that Tara disagreed with us. I sat down at a Sherry's across from her with somebody with her that she trusted because we're outlaw, we're big, bad, horrible people. We had a conversation, we talked it out. I would love to talk it out with her. But Tara's dug in, and I'm concerned about Tara because the behaviors I'm seeing, the attitude I'm seeing, the entitlement that I'm seeing, the political princess that I'm seeing, all of this is not the Tara that I saw 2 years ago. So it makes me wonder what's going on. And I'm not making accusations. I'm not saying she is or isn't doing anything. But there's something behind the scenes. Because the Tara that I'm experiencing now is either not the Tara she was 2 years ago, or it is the Tara she was 2 years ago and she's no longer hiding it.
So I don't know what the right answer is. I mean, right. The only comment I've made, the only opinion I have about it is, it doesn't look good, right? I mean, whatever is going on, it's a bad look, but I don't know what's truth beyond that.
I don't know either. One quick comment. Tegan had a couple. I want to read these. Tegan said she should stop funding iPads in jails and removing services to victims. And then she also said, where did it go? I just saw another one. I can't find it now. I'm going to disagree with you, Tegan. I think we have to completely change the way we handle prisons. So my nephew's a late 30s drug addict, homeless, mentally ill, refuses treatment, won't get help. Nobody can help him, right? So he gets out of jail. He goes to the streets. Within 48 hours, he's done something to cause a new charge for himself. He gets arrested. He goes to jail. In jail, collect phone calls cost 14 cents a minute.
Okay.
And if you want, and they have iPads that you can get, and people can send money in, and you can get music on them. You can watch movies on them, all of that.
Okay.
I'm going to say this. That's some bullshit.
100%.
That is some bullshit. And I'll tell you why. Because who's paying for that? It's not my nephew in county jail. Because they don't have ways to earn money in county jail. If he was in prison, he could do industry jobs, whatever. County jail, they don't. Who's paying for that? Who's paying the 14 fucking cents a minute so a guy who's in jail can have a conversation with his wife or his kids, the people on the outside that are now short on income, that are struggling to get by because of what the spouse did, or maybe it's not even somebody who's with them. Maybe it's a guy who's not with his wife anymore, but he wants to have a conversation with his kids. And now you're asking the ex-wife to pay so the kids can have a conversation with their father. And don't you dare fucking tell me that, well, the guy should have thought about that before he went to jail. Because I'm not talking about his punishment. I'm talking about the kids' punishment. The fact that I can now call toll-free to Florida and have a 19-hour conversation with a call girl, and it doesn't cost me a goddamn penny to call Florida for 19 hours, and yet we're going to charge somebody 14 cents a minute in the Kitsap County Jail to call from Port Orchard to Silverdale to talk to their kids? That's outrageous. And by the way, I tried to work with Tara about that because I wanted to have a conversation with her, but she won't have a conversation with me now because she's pissed off at us. And actually, that's legislation that she should introduce that I'd be totally in favor of.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Prison reform, the entire industrial complex of the prison system is just out of whack. We shouldn't be doing that to our incarcerated that we put there to get them out of society for crimes that we deem that offense, like drugs, the commissary, their food and everything, all that is jacked up in prices, and they make a profit off the prisoners. It's just a huge
off the like prison store and stuff. Oh yeah.
And then if they do get some type of labor, they can do laundry or stuff like that. To get out. They're not paid a fair wage.
35 cents. Well,
and
but,
all that other stuff. They
35 cents an hour. I think.
Regardless if they're in prison, if they're doing a job, they should be getting a fair wage. We put them there. And they want to be productive, let's pay them for their productivity. A lot of school lunches and things of that nature are made by prisoners,
Are they really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
In some states,
Is my mic
that's
on?
how it does. Yes.
Yeah, your mic is on.
Okay, sweet.
What you got?
I can't stand how prisoners have free reign in terms of iPads and stuff. And I'm seeing people on dating sites that are in prison.
Oh,
and
really?
Making TikToks.
They're probably
from
having
prison.
They're probably having a better dating life than I am.
I know they.
God,
are.
I need to go to prison. All right.
But
Don't do that.
No, I won't do that.
Don't do that.
I couldn't do a
they're
radio show
talking
for
about taxing dating apps and
Mm.
all of this stuff, and yet I don't feel like the prisoners are going to be paying taxes to be on all those things, and they're making money off TikTok from prison.
prisoners are.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that. Just because I feel like you're being put up at taxpayer expense, so there should be some. And you created a victim from somebody, probably, not always. Like, I still feel like getting arrested for drugs is like a victimless crime. Like, what's wrong? Oh, because your mic won't stay up. Well, no, Tom can fix that. Yeah, Tom, elevate that up. There you go, and then tighten that side bolt there. No, the
way to
you know,
micromanage.
yeah. See, there you go. Tom's a man.
That's
He's got
just
this. All right.
Kevin. Oh, Kevin.
What?
I heard that.
I said Tom's the man. He's got this. It wasn't a sexist statement. Tom's the man.
Sure.
Don't make things sexist when they're not sexist. I say plenty of sexist things. By the way, happy Mother's Day to all the moms. I cannot believe I've made it an hour and 19 minutes into the show. I didn't say happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms, and thanks to all the dads who made you moms. There you go. All right. There you go. I'm going to hell. You're welcome.
In a handbasket.
In a handbasket. Lila, in regards to the Terra stuff, and if you don't have a comment, or if you don't, I don't know how knowledgeable you are with the whole Terra thing, so I don't want to put you into a corner, make you comment on something you're not prepared to comment on, so I'll leave it up to you.
I feel that we should read Tara's comment.
I'm going to read that in just a second. Yeah.
Okay. And then after that, I'd like to read Holly's comment.
Oh, does Holly have a comment? All right. I'll read Tara's. I will not do a voice change. I'll just read it. So this was directly in response to the fact that she had the photos circulated around about her firing the automatic rifle. Okay. Some semi-automatic rifle. The
I think also the amount of harassment that she got. And I think that she feels that the amount of harassment is elevated because of this program. And I think that's also why she did that. I feel that way.
Maybe.
That could be true or not.
Maybe. I didn't realize we had so much power. Okay. Tara said, I've been getting a lot of harassing messages for posting photos of my firearms training. So I'd like to clarify a few things. Tara goes on to say, as someone who got my first felony at 13, I never had my firearm rights, and I had never shot a gun until November 2024. Getting my rights back felt like liberation and something to celebrate. If you have never lost yours, you might not understand. Be thankful you never had a felony. I'm quite sure most people who haven't had one were shielded through some form of privilege. It's not that you've never made a mistake. Did you ever use alcohol or drugs underage? Well, those aren't felonies. Ever been in a fight? Ever shoplift? Or for those with wealth, ever cheat on your taxes or exploit people? Perhaps lean into some Christian teachings about judgment and be grateful you haven't experienced the oppression of a conviction. 2, I believe my party, Democrats, needs to do more to bridge a divide on our two-party system on firearms. There is too much division in politics whenever possible, and in spite of those who work to create more hate, anger, and division through propaganda, I am trying to bring people together. I will point out when I believe my leadership or my party is drifting too far to one side or the other. I posted photos of my firearm training to show that Democrats also go to the range and/or own firearms. We don't have to fight about this, and my party can be more mindful of of including firearm owners. I know a ton of young people who are going to the Republican Party over this issue. 3, it is not hypocritical to say something and simultaneously believe there should be limits. It's why alcohol can be consumed legally, but a person can't drink and drive. It's also like sugar, but know that I can't take a whole cake home. Okay. I think that's because of her journey with weight loss, which is commendable in itself too, by the way. Yes, my trainer owns an assault rifle and he allowed me to try it. Yes, it was fun having to hit the target 500 feet away. Yes, I voted against future sales of assault rifles and believe it was the right vote. I have no desire to purchase an assault rifle and do not believe that they should be widely available. He had his prior to this new law, so he has the right to keep it. It was not hypocritical or illegal for me to try it out in a safe environment in light of my votes. As constitutional rights have limits, in regard to the First Amendment to free speech, There are limits of defamation, hate speech, death threats, protest permits, and more. In regard to the Second Amendment, I often hear about how our right to bear arms shall not be infringed to justify no limitations. However, when the drafters of the Constitution created it, they did not foresee how society would evolve. They didn't foresee assault rifles, machine guns, high-capacity magazines, mass shootings, etc., just as they did not foresee smartphones, social media, artificial intelligence, etc. We have limits on firearm possession and usage. Hence the reason I never had my Second Amendment rights. But I don't know if this edited out. Bipartisan work is done.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, bipartisan work has been done to limit firearms or background checks for people with mental illnesses, felony records, domestic violence protection orders, and more. Yes, people who want to engage in crime will find some way to get firearms, but we try to deter that through consequences and try to limit that through policies. None of it is unconstitutional because all rights have limits as society has evolved. 5, if you are a hateful person, there is nothing I can do to help you. However, if you'd like to find ways to be effective in advocacy for your position and try learning the process of advocacy, talk to a trusted advisor or mentor, ask questions and get involved. Harassing public service who do this work for little pay or reward only creates a hostile environment and more anxious society and more division. Perhaps talk to the God of your understanding on how to treat people. That's what I do and why I build bridges instead of blow them up these days. It's where I feel the courage to take positions that may not be fully aligned with the majority of my colleagues or leadership. At the end of the day, I have to live with myself and sleep well at night knowing that I'm doing my best to remain curious, open to learning, and kind to my differing viewpoints. If you cannot develop skills and basic decency, you will live a miserable life. But if you want to discuss ideas, politics without name calling, I welcome your engagement. Can I respond? Do you mind if I respond? Horseshit. Because I never called you a name, Tara. I asked specific questions that were valid for an elected representative. Did you employ privilege in having another state representative vacate your felony conviction to get your rights back? That was a fair question. And if you were honest, you'd have said, yes. Yes, I did. I had a freeway to a relationship with another representative who happened to be a lawyer that helped me get my record expunged.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, but just own it. Admit it. Accept it. Be honest about it. And then tell me the other half of the question. What are you doing to help other people in your situation find the same remedy? Because that's not what I'm hearing. So this whole thing about name calling and defamation, all that, I didn't do any of that. Now, you might feel like Paul did. You might feel like Tom did. You might feel like I did. But I would encourage you to come out and tell us where you think we did that. Because I've never called you a name, because I'm actually a really huge Tara Simmons supporter. And that's why this thing's got me so pissed off. Because I asked a question you could have just answered honestly. You know what, Kevin? In my position, you're right. I had access to something that most people don't. And I was able to utilize that to help me get my rights back because that was important to me. And I won't apologize for that. And I shouldn't have to. And then I could say, that's great, Tara. Thank you for answering the question and acknowledging that. What are you going to do for other people that shared your circumstance but not your current position? And then you could have answered that. Maybe your answer would have been nothing. I've got too much on my plate. I can't. I want to. Got too much on my plate. Or, that's a great idea, Kevin. I hadn't even thought about that. Let me look into it. But you didn't answer any of those questions. You clammed up, and basically you acted like a Republican. That's what Republicans do, Tara. They don't answer questions. They block people. You're like Michelle Calder due north. And you're better than that. And I like you. I expect better than that. I expect better from you, Tara. Because I know the integrity of the person I've gotten to know over the years, and that's not what I'm seeing. When Michelle Calder does this stuff, I throw my hands up in the air and say, that's exactly what I expected from her. That is who Michelle Calder is. That is the vision of Michelle Calder that I've had for the last 10 plus years. That doesn't change. She is exactly who she is, and I expect nothing more. But I expect more from Tara. And the fact that this is how she's handled it tells me that either she's changed and there's questions about why she's changed, or She's just not hiding anymore, and this is how she's always been. And that hurts my heart because I really do adore Tara.
Yeah, I don't think it sounds like her doing that. I think that it felt more like she's being attacked for doing it, you know.
Yeah.
And then the easiest way to get rid of that attack is to block, especially on Facebook, where the majority of these attacks come from. It just snowballs after that, and I think that got to her. I know it's gotten to me before, you know, where you just shut down and cut it off. The toxicity is enormous, and it's even more so for a Democrat when it comes to this stuff, you know,
Well,
the
let's
hypocrisy of the Second Amendment and things of that nature.
Let's
right?
say it's even worse for the fact that she's a woman, and women are more easily targets on social media. She's a woman with a felony history, which has brought a whole another layer of attacks and demonization against her. And she's a Democrat, as you said, which has invited really strong responses from the right who feel like she's advocating for things that are a direct threat to their lifestyle, religious beliefs, social views, all of that, right?
Right.
So she gets the poo-poo platter of gang attacks. And I'm not insensitive to that.
No.
Like I would never, Lila, if I was a woman, I would never run for office. Ever. Because regardless if you're left or right, the internet trolls are especially mean to women.
Especially the men in person too.
Well, yeah. But yeah, especially mean to women. There is this idea that you can just totally disrespect, terrorize, antagonize a woman. I don't know if the fear is that a man is going to knock you in the nose and a woman's less likely to do that. I don't know. There's some DNA structure thing in there. I don't know what
Patriarchy.
it is. Maybe. I hate to apply that
maybe.
to it because it's so, well, this is such a broad term.
I understand the
You know what I mean?
broadness of it, but
Yeah.
but when you get down to it definitionally, it all stems from patriarchy.
Yeah.
You know, the
But
misogyny.
I'm way more likely to knock someone in the nose than any of the men in this room.
That's true.
But violence doesn't like preclude patriarchy in and of itself.
Yeah.
But it's just a system of social norms that was developed within our culture.
Mm-hmm.
And we can see that systemic issues and problems presented to women and others through that. And that's why we have like critical race theory. Critical race theory is just looking at the system that produces the results of of what we're doing.
Yeah.
And you know, it's an academic look and then how to fix it.
Yeah.
You know,
I've never been opposed to CRT or DEI in its original intention.
the way
right?
that it's invoked by the right is this demonization of people, that people got special privileges that they didn't have.
Mhm.
And that's just not true. DEI is basically just making sure that when a government job offers, that it sends it out to all of the community.
Well, you
in
heard what
all
happened.
their languages.
You heard what happened when that helicopter flew in front of the jet in DC, and the jet hit the helicopter, and all those people died.
Blamed it on DEI.
And it was 2 women pilots, and everybody was like, "This was a DEI hire." I hate to break it to you, but women had been piloting helicopters in the military long before DEI became a buzzword.
And you have to get that type of special training and everything like that. And the fact that they want to blame that on the accident and not the fact that maybe it was just unsafe at the time. There's less traffic controllers. More
Maybe
and
the
more
women
planes.
pilots made a mistake. I mean,
Yeah,
mistakes are not
happen.
gender specific. You know what I mean?
Did you know the first fighter pilot in the U.S. Air Force lives here in Kitsap County? First female fighter pilot in the U.S. Air Force.
Really?
Wow.
Yep. I know her from business.
Could you get her on?
Maybe.
I would
That'd be
love to have
cool.
that conversation, especially
She's a super cool lady.
especially in light of the DEI conversations and the demonization of on it. I'm going to say it.
Minorities.
I want to be more specific than that. The demonization of anybody who's not a white male doing anything that goes wrong. Like if you're a black guy and something goes wrong, DEI hire.
Yep.
You're a woman and something goes wrong, DEI hire.
Okay.
You're a Hispanic and something goes wrong, DEI hire.
White guy
So when
gets in trouble, nothing.
White guy gets in trouble. Oh, well, it depends who you listen to, right?
Right.
Like if you listen to the right, it's clearly somebody on the left who's a lunatic fringe trans person, right?
Mhm.
And if you listen to people on the left, it's clearly a Catholic Christian right wing child molester. Like we can never just look at somebody who does something wrong and say
That's
that
wrong.
guy, that gal, that person
Fucked up.
fucked up. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be about, oh, they're white, or they're black, or they're women, or they're gay, or they're trans, or they're straight, or they're Catholic, or they're Christian, or they're atheist, or they're Muslim. It doesn't have to become about all the labels. Like, I hate the labels, man. Like, Republicans find one black guy that loves Trump, and he becomes the poster child for every black guy that should love Trump. Like, look, here's a black guy that loves Trump. See, Trump's not racist.
You can see that in some of his rallies and everything. They got the same black people that are just posted back there. And there's clips that just show that they're just the same people. And it's just meant to say, there's his token black guy.
Yeah.
You know,
And I'm not saying Trump's racist. That's a whole different conversation for a different show.
Yeah.
But this idea that we identified one, like they'll find one gay person that likes Trump. See, Trump, gay people and Trump are not, it's one person. Like, let's not assign this to the entire movement. You know, it's an example, but it's not indicative of the movement. I would
just
guess
want to show that they're not bigoted. See, I got the gay friend.
that's right. 87% of the LGBTQ community is probably Democrat. Probably. That means 13% aren't. And you can find 13% that probably like Trump.
And the right and left, it just depends on the social issues and the economic issue. Me personally, as a leftist, I focus on the economic system, the economic policies, the social system and everything. That's where the bigotry, the blame, the all of that comes into focus, on trying to blame the systemic failures onto minorities.
Yeah. Robert had a good point. I want to bring this up, and I'm going to give a real life example from this show. Robert said, and you want to know what Democrats say when they see a black Republican? They just call them a slave or an Uncle Tom. Stop being a hypocrite. When Marco Padilla was running for state representative, Hispanic guy, he ran as an independent. And he caught so much crap from Democrats for not running as a Democrat. Well, how could you? And don't you understand what the other party's about? Like, why aren't you aligned with us? And Marco said, because I don't align with you. I'm not a Democrat. I'm fiscally conservative and more of a libertarian than I am a Democrat. I'm not going to run as a Democrat just because you expect me to, because I'm Hispanic. There is an element of it. Would you agree there's an element of that where
and it's terrible that the broad term of the left does that. It's just the same bigotry, and it just turned in the next direction, you know, to marginalize his voice from that aspect.
Mhm.
And it's ridiculous, and we shouldn't do that. Any leftist that does that is not a leftist. They're in a fake ideology of who's right and who's wrong, and they're just meant to tear people down.
Well, I think that's it right there. Who's right and who's wrong. And I think the underlying problem here is, we the people are horribly divided right now, and we blame each other for everything. We all have one common problem. The
Capitalism.
government. No, the government.
Capitalism.
Yeah. The government is what has pushed, and we
Hold
could.
Can I pat myself on the back really quick?
Sure.
So on the page, Tracy said, "Did you make up that 83% number?" And I thought, well, yeah, I did make it up. I mean, I was assigning a number. I wasn't meaning for it to be scientifically factual. I was just assigning a number based on what I kind of guessed.
Pulled a number from your ear.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna show you this. Hold on. Give me just a second. All right, this is from Pew Research. 83% of gay and bisexual men and 83% of lesbian, gay, bisexual women are Democrats.
83.
I made that number up, and look how fucking right I was. I'm a
1 in
genius.
100.
What's that?
1 in 100. That was your lotto ticket.
That was it. Yep, that's
It's
it.
done.
I'm gonna stop by 7-Eleven and buy me some lotto tickets on the way home.
You
tonight.
said 87.
I know, but I was pretty close, is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, super.
I was really close. That was pretty good.
It
of me.
sounded pretty correct.
There we go.
In terms of anything else.
Worked for me.
But
All right.
yeah.
You said that Holly had a comment that you wanted to read.
Holly said this under the post of Tara Simmons. I'll be honest. I think we, the left, continue to go wrong by giving credence to and perhaps unintentionally propping up the false reality that the right creates, whether it's about gun rights issue or about trans people or public education or Texas or whatever. Also, there's a folly of trying to appease those who will never be appeased because it's not actually about the issue at hand, like guns, but about scoring political points. We should stop doing both of these things. I don't mean stop speaking out or standing against it, but rather refuse to treat their endless straw men as the truth that we then argue against. For example, it isn't that the left is anti-gun. Anti-gun rights aren't gun owners themselves, etc. What is true is that the left wants common sense gun laws, just as the by far majority of the right does. There isn't actually as much disparity as the narrative says. A reduction in ease of access, and ultimately a reduction in injuries and deaths. Every time there's a discussion about this issue, there are numerous Democrats, liberals, progressives, what have you, piping up to say that they're a gun owner. And actual leftists, huge proponents of Second Amendment. I agree. I mean, at this juncture, the right doesn't have any guns left anyway because Obama already went went door to door and personally collected all their firearms, right? This argument is simply politically useful to the right, and that's why they've been using the same fear-mongering pinch for the last 30 plus years. Just like they've been using the abortion argument since they figured it was an effective tool to wrench back the seats and races they were badly losing the way back of the late 60s and early 70s. True. So yeah, just a vote for advocating, debating, discussing from a basis of things that actually are, rather than criticizing Democrats on the basis of how politicians, opponents, gun lobbyists on the right paint them to be. I don't see it as so much as policy on this issue that has the potential to drive young people to the right as much as it is propaganda. And I think the best way to combat that is to put our energy into truth telling, offense versus defense.
She's not wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I bring this up because of the Second Amendment, how the left and right paint each other. And the left is pro-gun. We know this. We read Karl Marx, and he specifically says to make sure they don't take your guns, because that's the only way that we're going to have a revolution against the bourgeoisie. He knows this. There are leftist NRA gun clubs out there. You know, they're not as prolific as the NRA and other right-wing militias, but that's because we just keep it under wraps.
Yeah.
You know, there's no Antifa. We're not organized like that. You know, we're anti-fascist. That's it. When we see fascism, we come out and protest it. If the fascists wouldn't come out, the anti-fascists wouldn't come out either.
Well, and listen, and we have a whole bunch of questions coming into our anonymous box as well.
Ooh,
That's
yummy.
awesome. So we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So let me summarize what I think she's saying.
Okay.
Because she has a lot of good points, but I think some of our listeners are going to hear about 5 seconds of that and go, "Oh, this is long. I don't want to listen to it."
Yep.
So in general, what I think she's saying, correct me if I'm wrong, is that this has really never been about the policy of the process itself. It's about how the parties can use that to gain political capital.
100%.
Okay. And Holly, I love you because we are 100% in agreement on that very fact. I've said on the show a dozen times or more that I don't think Democrats or Republicans want to solve the abortion debate.
No.
Because then
They would have done it.
Well, they would have done it. And if you get rid of it, what happens? That's something that you can't get fundraising money for.
Right.
You can't tug on people's heartstrings about abortion, whether you're for it or against it, and say, we need your money so that we can
protect your abortion rights.
Yeah, get a candidate in there that'll do it. We need your money. And if you suddenly fixed it, you wouldn't be able to use it. Same thing with guns. We're just going to use guns as a leverage ploy to get money. You're either Republican and you really believe in your gun rights, or you're somebody who hates guns and you want all guns to be banned.
Mhm.
But if you fixed it, well, those people aren't going to be felt like they need to come donate to your cause anymore.
Yep.
I think Holly's absolutely correct.
Yeah, and it's a perverse use of the system, of our two-party system, you know, to be able to do that, where they They claim it's virtue signaling and all, and it's bullshit.
Can I ask you a question, Lila, which is not on our docket, and so I'm trying to figure out the right way to ask this, because you're trans,
yeah,
and you're out in the world every day as a trans female. What I hear from many Republicans, we hate trans people, we hate them, we hate them, we hate them. If we see them, we're going to call them out. We're going to make them feel bad. We're going to be shitty people to them. And what I hear from the loud voices on the left is trans people are accosted, assaulted, insulted, made to feel uncomfortable everywhere they go.
Yeah.
Are either one of those playing out? Or I guess what I'm asking is when you go to the store, you do your grocery shopping, do you feel safe? Do you get people making comments? Do you feel threatened, or is some of that blown up as part of that virtue signaling from both sides of the
it's not blown up, but I have not experienced it, and I'm thankful that I haven't, because I live in Washington State. We're much more open about that type of thing, in terms of having people just exist. That's all I want to do, is just exist, and this is how I am. You know, there's nothing wrong about me or the demonization that they say about trans people. It's not happening. You know, the biggest detriment to females, cis people. They're the ones that commit all this rape against women, all the misogyny. You know, if we do this bathroom ban type of thing, what if trans men have to go in the female restroom? These bearded men, like, it makes it far more easier for a cis man to now do what these people say that trans women do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not true. We just want to take a shit. Leave us the fuck alone. Like, come on.
Yeah. I think it's, I hadn't planned on asking you about the bathroom thing, only because it didn't cross my mind as I was prepping for the show tonight. But I think it's a really valid conversation because it's been up and down. So I'm going to tell you what I've always thought about the bathroom thing. So, and then I want you to respond. Honestly, tell me if you think I'm off base or wrong or fucked up or whatever. Yeah. So I have never taken the track that most Republicans have taken. Like, men are going to go pretend to be women and go in the women's bathroom. Like, I don't see that.
Most is a strong word.
Most.
I would take that back.
You wouldn't say most Republicans feel
No.
that way? No?
No.
A vocal minority.
And there's a lot of people in the chat that are also blowing you up about that.
Okay, I can't see the chat at the moment, but I'll look in a second. Okay, some. Okay. I've never understood why this is a thing. Like, I do feel like it's driven by this politicalization of both parties and their platforms. Because I could fix the bathroom issue right now without it costing any more space or any more money. Yeah. When I go to Vegas, because I go to Vegas all the time, and you walk into a bathroom in Vegas, what do you have? You have communal sinks, and every bathroom, everything is a stall with a floor to ceiling door.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that just solve the problem?
100%.
I wouldn't have to walk into a men's bathroom. I would walk into a communal bathroom with floor to ceiling stalls where the toilets are at. And when they come out, they wash their hands. Like, I think men and women can be trusted to wash their hands next to each other. I think.
I mean, we have communal bathrooms in our households.
Yeah. And if you go to the airport, SeaTac's got some communal hand washing stations outside of the bathroom. Mm-hmm. So I don't see why it's an issue. Like,
it's the same argument that we're talking about here. It's just a way for them to raise money and also give somebody to demonize and blame for the troubles of systemic failure. It's just look at this hand while I pickpocket you. It's really that. That's what bigotry and demonization of the LGBTQ community and immigrants and Black people. It's just the demonization to otherize people to push them down.
Holly had a couple comments. I want to read these because I told her I'd read them when I saw them. I just hadn't seen them. She said, it's not a violation if Couture can have me as an actual constituent blocked for years. No, I think if Travis has you blocked on his Facebook and he's doing state business on his Facebook, I love Travis. I think it's a violation.
Yeah.
I mean, the state Supreme Court ruled on that. I think some court ruled on that.
I remember that.
So if Travis has you blocked, that's some messed up ish.
Yeah, that's why I was surprised when I heard that she blocked you, and I was like, that would be fine if that wasn't her official page.
Yeah.
You know, if she's not doing business.
Yeah, and she does a lot of business on her page.
Yeah.
And again, maybe she's not going to anymore. Maybe she's going to post on her own personal page, but I don't think she's posted there in forever. Whatever. But no, Holly, I disagree, and I like Travis. I'm not going to be a hypocrite and speak out of both sides of my mouth. I like Travis, but I don't think he should have any constituent blocked. I don't think he should have any voter in the state of Washington blocked.
Nope.
Because even if you're not his constituent, he's still passing laws that impact you because he's on the legislature that's passing bills that impact the entire state.
Yep.
So I disagree, Holly, but I understand what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. We went off base. Okay. Can we change the subject just for a sec? Oh, hold on. Do we have comments in chat we should get to, Boss Baby, on this subject before I change gears? Because I want to talk about Trump's new plane.
There are
It's the best.
quite a few comments that are adjacent to this
Okay.
conversation.
Let me get into some of them. Mike said, if we look at DNA markers, there's XX and YY.
Oh my
XY.
God.
So let me say this. I would like to challenge Republicans to stop being hypocrites on this issue. Because what I hear from Republicans are, man, we don't want the government interfering in our lives at all. Less government in our lives, less government in our bedrooms. We don't want the government to interfere at all.
Except,
Lila, are you over 18?
I
Thank you. So even if I, as a white Christian male dude, right? Let's pretend I have an issue with Lila's lifestyle choice, which I really don't. Who the fuck cares? Lila is an adult, over the age of consent, and can do whatever he wants to. She, sorry, I apologize. She can do whatever she wants to. The fact that anybody wants to make if I'm at the store and I see Lila, why am I going to care? Are you afraid of what you're going to have to explain to your kids? The explanation to your kids should be people are different.
In fact, you should be teaching them about these other people at an early age so they understand the type of people that are in the world and not demonize them because you heard Anita Bryant spousing on about the gay homosexual that's going to turn your kid gay.
Hold on. Travis Couture is in the chat and posted a response to Holly. So I have to read that because unlike other elected representatives, Travis will answer questions. I love you, Travis. Thank you.
Thank you.
Travis says, Holly is not and has never been blocked from my personal social media. I do not have a legislative social media page. That is why she's never filed an ethics complaint because it would be tossed by the ethics board immediately. Have a nice night. So I think what he's saying is he doesn't do house business on his personal page. Perfect. Thanks for answering the question.
No. He said he doesn't have a legislative page.
Right.
He just has his personal.
That's what I said.
Right.
That he does not do house business on his personal
but
page.
He's also said that there's no one blocked on his page.
No, he said he's not blocked. Oh, he's never blocked from. Oh,
okay. Is not and never has.
Okay. There's that too. Thank you for that. Yeah. So other comments, keep male bodies in male bathrooms. I just think we do away with men's and women's bathrooms.
That would be the easiest solution.
Like do the communal hand washing station. Like Vegas has got it down. Vegas knows what they're doing.
Like what is the actual upset about me going into the bathroom? Say it out loud.
Well, you know what they're
out. No, they have to say it out loud because they're just saying men should only go into men's spaces.
Well, they've accused you
of what?
They've said that you as a hold on. I don't want to misstate anything. I'm trying to be really careful how I phrase this because I'm not
a sex pest.
I'm not savvy on the correct political terms to use for things. So if I say something wrong, it's not intentionally to be inflammatory or to be disrespectful.
Right. I understand.
I believe you're a biological male. Biologically.
I was male at birth, yes.
Okay. All right. So they are basically saying that because you're biological at birth, that if you go into a women's bathroom,
what am I going to do?
You are somehow a deviant and you're going to sexually assault the woman in the bathroom. That's what they're alluding to.
Right. And they said that about gay people 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and it's just a cycle of how to demonize people because you don't like them for whatever it is, because you grew up in a bigoted household that was told that gay people are just immoral, and it's a religious thing as well, and it's just a hierarchy of just demonization. They don't like our lifestyle, and so the only way to get rid of it and to say that we don't exist is to kill us, to outlaw us, to otherize us.
Kevin Nelson has the most important comment in the chat. Sorry that neither you nor Paul were elected Pope. I am too. I was hoping for that position. I kind of lobbied for it.
An American did get it.
American did get it. Somebody from Chicago. He's a White Sox fan. That tells you all you need to know.
Pope.
He tells you he's a White Sox fan.
Nice.
Listen, if you had any doubt that there's a God, there's a White Sox fan as Pope, and the White Sox have sucked for years.
Okay,
Mike
so what's
says
the season look like now for the White Sox the
awful
rest of the year?
Awful. They're like
You think
6-30, man.
There's no divinity.
No divinity.
You don't think there's
God
gonna be a
does not
divine?
care. Listen, Dallas, true story. Dallas built their stadium with a hole in the roof so that God could watch their games. Like true, honest to God statement. When they designed the stadium, that's the reason they gave why they left an open air so that God could watch their games. If God was watching the Dallas Cowboys play, it would be raining a lot because it'd be the tears from God. All right. All right. Holly's back in chat, by the way. Mike said the facts are XX and XY. I don't care what people say or think. I don't care what they do. Hold on. I want to read this whole comment. The facts are XX and XY. That's it. I have friends who are in the alphabet group, and I don't care what they do or say. I don't let it bother me at all. The facts are XXXY. So what I think Mike is saying is, to him personally, it's male, female, designed by XXYY, but he's not going to let it bother him that people think or live differently. That's what I think I'm taking out of it.
That's fine, but you still hold that kernel, that kernel of transphobia. It's I don't care what gay people do as long as it's not around me and stuff like that. It's still a phobic nature to be saying that, even if it's just wrapped in the guise of inclusivity.
Do you?
But let me with the XXXY. I would like to know your chromosomes. I would like to know what you feel about intersex people. Do you even know what intersex people are? Look into that and tell me about male and female.
Fair enough. And I think that's an argument that gets lost in the middle of this, is that there is that intersex. There are people that are born with both sets or neither set of,
or it actually drops when they're teenagers.
Yeah.
There's an island that has these young boys that are pronounced female at birth, but all of a sudden their genitals drop.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to those people?
I saw an episode of House where that happened, actually. I love House.
I love House.
Dr. House is my hero.
Yeah.
Listen, I hear the vitriol, right? And I hear the anger and I hear the reasonings, and they all make logical sense, right? I think that's what sucks in the argument, right? Because when you say the argument, there's a part of my brain, I'll speak for me, that goes, well, they could have a point. That could happen. I mean, I guess it's possible that some dude who's a pedophile dresses up as a woman and says that he's a woman so he can go into the women's bathroom and assault a woman. Like, is that feasible?
Yes.
It certainly is. But do we have we heard one story?
Actual proof that that's happening?
Yeah.
Widespread, as they say? No, but there is a case to be made of cis people doing that exact same thing. So it's like projection.
Well, yeah. And I don't want to lump all cis people together.
No.
The same way I don't want to lump all of anybody together. But I guess my point is, it's really easy to hear the arguments and go, fuck, they got a point. And then if you look at it research wise and you look for the trend, you don't see the trend. Like, I don't hear about trans LGBTQ people out sexually assaulting a lot of people. I don't hear about it. I'm far more likely to hear about a youth pastor at a Christian church do it.
100%.
Now, I'm a Christian, going to church every Sunday, love it, won't give it up. Know a lot of good Christians, but I'm far more likely to hear about a Christian youth pastor doing that than somebody in the LGBTQ community. And I do wonder why more Republicans and Christians are not more militant about protecting the church from pedophiles as they are screaming about LGBTQ folks who we don't have enough evidence to even suggest that the accusation's been correct.
Thank you.
But that's just me.
Is it access to children? Just saying.
Is it?
Trans people have children too.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't say they
Like-
didn't.
Okay.
But youth pastors are
Oh,
put in
oh.
a child full situation.
And I
don't know that the average LGBTQ
I would average.
Is.
I would suggest that if you're a deviant with pedophilic tendencies, and you haven't been caught, and you're kind of open to do whatever you want, you're going to position yourself in positions to get you around kids because that's what you're trying to do, right? So, regardless of whether you're LGBTQ or straight or whatever terms you want to use, if a person has an inclination to abuse or target children, they're going to place themselves in situations to do that.
Sure.
So the
And
fact
most
that
people of the LGBTQ groups are not going to put themselves in a church situation because historically church has not been a safe community for them. So we're finding that's where the cis predators are finding themselves in the children and whatever, and the LGBTQ predators for what it is are having to find their prey elsewhere.
Let me say one more thing before we go to the bumper break. And I'm going to say this as a Christian dude, right? The Christian church and Christians in general need to do a much better job of welcoming and embracing people who think and act differently than you do. Okay? I think if Lilat walked into the average Christian church that I've attended, there would be a lot of second glances, a lot of weird looks, a lot of what the are they doing here? Right? And as long as we do that as a church, as a people, as a group, we are not living out what we're supposed to be doing by our faith.
Yeah. If I'm not welcomed at a place, why would I go there?
Yeah, exactly. And I think when you walk in, so when I went to a church, the first time I walked in the church, there was a guy named Perry. I love him to this day. He didn't know me from Adam. He walked up, shook my hand, welcomed me, made me feel comfortable. And every time I came back, there was Perry at the door to greet me and tell me hello. You should get that exact same thing when you walk in, regardless. And I think Christians, and this is what I wish people would do, is call out their ilk more. It's really easy for, I'm going to use Tom for a minute, to scream at Democrats or Republicans because he's a libertarian. But when Tom calls out another libertarian, that grabs my attention because Tom's holding his own people accountable. I want the left to hold their own people accountable. I want Christians to hold other Christians accountable. I want Republicans to hold other Republicans accountable. Instead of this whole plugging our ears and covering our eyes and covering our mouth bullshit like the apes in the statue or whatever, where well, it's our guy, we just ignore it. Like, I swear to God, if Barack Obama was getting a plane donated to him from Abu Dhabi, Republicans would be throwing a fit. 100%. But because it's Trump, it's like, oh, no big deal.
It's okay. It's our guy. Yeah. It's ridiculous on both sides.
Yeah. All right, let's take a bumper break. We'll take the bumper break. We'll come back. We got an hour of the show to go. We have a half hour to do some more political stuff. Bottom of the hour, we're going to do pro wrestler or porn star. I'm going to give you the name, and you're going to tell me if it's a pro wrestler or a porn star. It's going to be fun.
There's no porn wrestlers?
There are no porn wrestlers. I did not put China in this because that would be conflicted. Outlaw Radio. Back after this.
That was the best name you could come up with?
For a porn star wrestler?
Yeah.
Wasn't she the most famous porn star wrestler?
Kind of, but Tammy Sitch is right up there.
Oh, Sunny, yeah. Sunny, yeah. And boy, had she fallen on hard times.
No, it looks like hard times fell on her. Hard.
That's what it is. Outlaw.
This is the Outlaw Radio Network. Back with more after this. On a recent episode of the Outlaw Radio Network.
Some of our listeners even appreciated you dumbing it down for them. So, on behalf
Sometimes
of
I have to
thank you.
mansplain for people like. By the way, mansplaining is when men explain things to a woman in a condescending tone. I just mansplaining. That's the Outlaw Radio Network Sunday nights at their new time from 6 to 10. Admin a la carte are specialized local experts committed to helping you run your small business. From general admin and sales support to marketing, digital media and technology to real estate and compliance, Admin a la carte's only goal is to take your business to the next level. Find out how Admin a la carte can elevate your business. Visit admin-alacarte.com for more information. That's admin-alacarte.com. Admin a la carte. Your business doesn't fit into a box. Why should you have to?
Are you ready to elevate your spirits? Look no further than Black Rain Spirits, your local craft distillery nestled in Town Square Mall. Indulge in the smooth richness of our handcrafted spirits, meticulously distilled to perfection. Whether you prefer the bold kick of our bourbon or the subtle sophistication of our gin, Black Rain Spirits has something for every palate. Visit us today at Town Square Mall and experience the essence of true craftsmanship. Black Rain Spirits, where passion meets perfection, unconventionally traditional.
You older people, I know you're getting a little edgy right now, but you better get into me because I don't want to bum you out, but I'm the future of America.
This is the Outlaw Radio Network.
Good evening, my fellow citizens.
It's kind of stony, huh?
It's the real thing. A radio signal from another world.
The United States government presents
The Outlaw Radio Network. Outlaw Radio Network.
To provide guidance to mankind.
Outlaw Radio. Hey, let the music play those for a bit, will you? I want to do a shout out. July 18th, at a bar to be decided later, the annual Outlaw K-Dog Dennis karaoke party will commence. We will do karaoke.
All right.
Actually, hold on. When I say something, you guys all say what. Okay? Ready? All right. We're going to do karaoke. What? Drink. What? More karaoke. What? Flirting. What? Table dancing. Pole dancing.
I can't go out flirting.
How, what?
It's on.
You're on.
How clean is the pole?
Well, it'll be clean to start the night, but it won't be clean at the end of the night. Anyway,
Bring your sanitizer.
the annual, we are going to do the baseball game on the 19th. So I'll have info for that. But we have to get money early for the baseball game because we have to buy group tickets all at once. So Rick, I'll reach out to you directly about that. But for those of you who want to come to my birthday party, Lila, that includes you. It'll be a night of obscene amounts of drinking and karaoke, and I will need a ride home.
In what city?
Up here somewhere.
Oh.
It has to be up here somewhere because that's where everybody's at except for you.
I still have a video of some people doing some NSYNC at one of the last ones we did.
Not me, but I did NSYNC recently.
Did I miss NSYNC?
No, you were there.
I was there.
Yeah.
And
oh, I wasn't sober then because
I'm
I
gonna
don't remember it.
I'm going to invite Holly again. Holly will never come, but I feel like if I just invite repeatedly, I can
That's
never be
a personal problem, Kevin.
I can never be
Don't talk
accused
about
of
her
I
problems
can
like that.
never be accused of not inviting her. So Holly's invited. Lila, you going to come? Are you a fan of karaoke?
Absolutely not.
Would you come and watch people do karaoke?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you don't have to sing. You just have to come have fun and watch and drink.
Maybe.
Or drink soda. I don't care what you drink. Eat pizza. I don't give a shit.
Just come, enjoy, have a fucking party.
Yeah, exactly. It's my birthday. Next year's birthday will be in Vegas. I'll be 55 next year.
I was going to say, is next year a special one or something?
Yeah, 55.
Okay.
Dang it.
Going to Vegas.
That was my whole opportunity to move into a 55 and older.
Yeah, if you'd have
Way
just stuck with
earlier
me
than
another
me.
year.
Sorry.
I'm never moving from my house. I will die in that house.
You're born 71.
I will die in that house. I will stay in that house until I die. It is way too big for me when my kids move out. But I'm going to get a pool table, put a pool table in downstairs.
Yeah.
Can turn it into manland.
It's good. I think it's the right layout. I mean, until you get into your more advanced years, because there are a lot of stairs.
Mm-hmm. Tegan said she's going to Vegas next year. Tegan, go to Vegas in October. I'm going to Vegas in October. That's what I'm planning.
Your birthday's not in October.
No, but that's this year. I have to go to Vegas.
Have
to go to Vegas once a year. This year's trip will be in October.
You have already been this year.
No, I have not been to Vegas this year.
Are you sure?
Positive.
2025.
I saved my money this year because I went on the cruise and went to Disneyland. I haven't been there. I haven't been this year.
But you're going to do Vegas in July
You went
next
late
year.
last year, huh?
Yes, we went
Oh,
October
that's
last year. Yeah, we went twice last year.
Have you been to Vegas in July?
Been to Vegas in late June. It was 115 degrees.
Yeah, it's not reasonable.
It was so hot out there. You walked
That's
outside and needed
death.
a shower.
Yeah, it's not reasonable.
But you know what? I don't give a shit. I'm going to go to Vegas for my birthday.
It's cheap. I mean, everything's cheap.
And when all the kids have moved out on their own and they're all doing their own thing, I'm going to Vegas for Christmas.
Christmas would be cool.
Oh, Christmas, New Year's Eve in Vegas would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sign me up. Okay. We're going to talk about this story, and I'm going to play a couple clips. So we don't do a lot of clips on this show because they're cumbersome and a little bulky to do on the screen that I'm using over here. But we're going to talk a little bit about the upholding of Trump's God, I can't talk.
Transgender ban.
Thank you. The transgender ban in the military. So the Supreme Court basically ruled that the ban could take effect, which is not immediate, but it might as well be because it's going to be pretty freaking quick. And so what they basically said is Trump is not out of line, and that Trump removing transgender people from service and banning future transgender people from serving in the military is not illegal and is allowed. And because he's the commander in chief, it's basically under his assignment of duties.
If our president wants to discriminate against a certain group of people, it's his God-given right. Thank you, Supreme Court. Fucking love you.
So I'm going to play two clips. These are opposing clips. Okay. And I'm going to play them because they give opposing arguments to
Excellent context.
to this argument. So let me hold on.
Do they have sound?
Yeah, they have sound.
Okay. Well, I'm going to have
Play
to
the
do
first one.
something, so
Play-
you have to let me know.
So this is the one that you shared, right?
Yeah, play
Okay.
that one second.
Okay, hold on. What are you telling me what to do? Who do you think you are, Lila? Jesus.
Your co-host.
You are my co-host tonight. Hold on. All right, so let me. All right.
Add to stage.
Well, hold on. I'm trying to get it. I think if I go back to the if I go back to the top, it starts all by itself. Okay, so hold on. All right, we're gonna share, and it's this one. This is not where we're watching, but it's what I have to be on so I can cue it up the right way.
Ma'am, what we'll do is we're here to determine whether
She has a proposition.
The Supreme Court is
Oh,
upholding.
hold on. Is it because am I muted? Is that why? Okay, hold on.
You're free to go.
Who's sucking whose dick around here?
Okay, here we go.
She has a proposition.
The Supreme Court is upholding Trump's ban on transgender people in the military. And I have a question. Actually,
Okay,
I
hold
have
on.
a
Is that going out? Can
proposition,
people hear it?
Okay.
No,
Okay.
it's playing on your.
One person can come in the comments and tell me what is so scary about transgender people, I'll shave my head.
Well, I think I might be able to help with this. First of all, don't
No, it's
appreciate
fine,
you
it's
assuming
fine.
my motivation and the phrasing of your question. You're insisting that I explain why I am, quote, afraid of trans people. Turns out I'm not. I just think it's reasonable for the military to take into consideration whether or not a potential recruit has a deep psychological break with physical reality, has thus made that break with reality a core component of their identity, and is now insisting that everyone affirm their delusion, which will most likely lead to a course of action where they insist on certain accommodations ranging from medication to very expensive surgeries to cut off genitalia in the hopeless pursuit of a biological reality that they can't achieve, and all taxpayer expense. So I hope that clears it up. No need to shave your head, because quite frankly, I've never understood the progressive obsession with cutting things off to prove a point.
All right, so
She
that
has a proposition.
All right, so there's that. Now let's share the other one. Hold on. So this is the countering argument. This one. Here we go.
Today, I'm not okay.
Hold on. I'll start it over. Here we go.
Today, I'm not okay. Two days ago, the Supreme Court ruled on the injunction, placed a stay on the injunction that protected trans service members from discharge. Today, Secretary Hegseth released his policy for the DoD. And it outlines and paves the way for discharges to begin within 60 days. Which for me means that a career that I have been working for going on 18 years is going to be stripped away from me within the next 6 months. To have something that you have worked so hard for such a massive portion of your life, dedicating energy and mental stability and missing holidays and birthdays and major life events, to have it taken away for something that is arguably a political act. I've worn my uniform every day since 2013. Every day. Prior to that, I enlisted in 2007, 2 deployments in that time frame. I worked full-time as a technician during that time period. I've done a lot of time. And I did all of it because I knew that at the end of my career, there were going to be benefits that would set me up for success so that I wouldn't have to struggle. I gave up freedoms and choices and things that my friends and those around me, my family, enjoyed. I gave that up because I knew that at the end of my career that something better was coming, and it's being taken away.
All right, so we're going to leave it at that. I think the point is clear. So, okay,
Very.
Do you have Paul, boss
Not
baby?
yet.
Oh, not yet. Okay, so let's break down the transgender military argument, and then I want you to respond to it. So the argument is, this is the argument that I've heard, is that transgender people in the military are probably not mentally fit because they're dealing with some type of mental condition that has led to their trans condition, or however they want to phrase it, right? And that they believe they'll be detrimental to unit morale and unity, and that they will embark upon expensive medical procedures at the cost of taxpayers. Are those kind of the three, Tom, do you agree? Are those kind of the three arguments we've had?
Those are the primary ones that I see when the conversation
Those are the ones
comes
that I've
up.
heard too. Are there other ones that you've heard, Lilet? Or are those kind of the main three?
That's basically the main three, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, it's just a demonization of these people that were yesterday were just fine being in the military, doing everything they're told. We don't hear anything about trans people coming out from the military complaining that there is a problem. It seems to me it's just another case of don't say gay. Gays in the military, they think, oh, it's the morale, lower morale. Did it lower morale?
Well, that's a good question. I don't have an answer to.
Right.
The morale in the military is generally low. How much of that you would attribute to LGBTQ in there? I don't know. But I can't say one way or the other.
But
yeah,
here's an boss baby.
Well, we got Paul. Okay, go ahead and answer that question. I'll bring Paul in.
Lost my train of thought. Sorry.
That's okay. We'll bring Paul in. Hello, Paul. Oh wait, hold on. You bring him in, boss baby. I bring him in, and then boss baby. I click it, and then boss baby clicks it. What's up, buddy? You look very dapper tonight.
Dapper. Yeah, that's the word, man. That's the word, dapper. I like it.
Dennis,
I dig that word.
Dennis, would you drop his volume down just a smidge? He's very loud. Okay. How was the track? Did you win a lot of money? Did you lose a lot of money?
I didn't win, but like $10. My wife walked away with several hundred though, so she did okay. I would say she did good. But I wanted to have, I've been listening to the show and everything's been great. I want to remind listeners, and I know Boss Baby had already reminded them, that we always make it a point, because I saw that some were disillusioned because Lila was on. Listen, I thought it was great that she decided she wanted to come on, and she reached out and took Kevin up on his offer, because it takes all voices of the spectrum to have a conversation, right? On that note, I specifically said, hey, put me on about this issue specifically, because I literally just spent the last 4 hours sitting and talking to a sergeant major about, well, one of the topics we covered was this very topic. And there's something that's really important to remember, and I think this gets glossed over a lot. So Lila brought up, has it affect?
Are you in your workshop?
I'm
Like, are you in a barn?
Yeah, I'm in the barn. I was out here taking care of the horses, and
Your wife
the
made
link
you
came
leave
through.
the house to call the show. That's funny. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Kevin, that's it. I run this house. I wear the pants. She made me wear white ones today.
Sure you do.
They were white pants. I don't really look good in them. They don't fit me right, but I wear them to make her happy. So here's the thing. Trans people in the military affects morale somewhat. There is a morale issue. And I'll get to the morale issue. The morale issue is actually wrapped up in the exact same reason why this Supreme Court order has merit. Okay. And it's called deployability. Okay. Now, I can't attest to what it means to be trans. It's not even a road for me to go down. I can't identify with it. Having said that, what you can do is, what I can do as a veteran, having a son that's currently serving and having a ton of people within my life that are actively serving. The trans issue within the military really blossomed over the last 4 years. Why did it blossom? It blossomed because doors were opened that weren't opened before. The problem that they found relatively quickly is that people within the trans community, not all of them, I mean, I'm never going to say all of them, but a fair portion of them took the job in the military specifically for the health care benefits. And so what you have is an entire class of people in the military who are non-deployable as a result of whether it's mental health issues, psychological conditions, or more importantly, physical surgeries. That is a serious issue. You can't, for example, I'll use an M1 Abrams tank, for example. You have a crew of 4. A crew of 4 that goes downrange and qualifies every 6 months. Okay. They have to do their job. They have to qualify to a certain standard. Do you know what you can't do? You cannot be deployed as a tank crew if a member of your crew is not qualified on that vehicle. This has a lot of effects all the way up and down the roster. Now, I know it's something that people don't like to talk about, but we can't say trans people don't have surgeries. We can't say that they didn't go into the military to get the free healthcare. Those are nonsensical non-starters, right? It happens, and it happens all the time. We cannot ignore it, okay? We've had entire units that aren't able to be deployed, and I'm not saying because of the trans issue, but in the past, during Desert Storm, we had an entire division, the 8th Infantry Division, that couldn't be deployed because they were so fucked up. And it has been a major goal of military personnel over the last 30 years to try to rectify that situation, because it destroys readiness within the military itself. And if readiness isn't good, morale isn't good. If morale isn't good, you don't have a lethal, efficient fighting force. Now, I do understand
trans people
let me
will fix that.
Let me. I just want to clarify.
No. I needed. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the entire thing that she said. But go ahead. Go ahead, Kevin.
I was going to ask though. So your issue is not with trans people serving specifically. It is, as I'm understanding you, it is those who then undertake procedures or medical care that then make them unable to be assigned or deployed, which then harms the ability for the units to be deployed in full.
Yeah,
So
it's a readiness. It's a readiness issue, plain and simple.
Lila, you had a comment too.
As far as the healthcare, I would say, so what if they go into the military for healthcare? That's a perk. That's a reason why a lot of people go into it, whether they're trans or cis, to get that.
No, that's completely false. What you just said is patently false. When I enlisted in the healthcare, that's right. When I enlisted in the Army, I didn't go to that recruiter's office and say, do I get free healthcare? because everybody knows you get free health care especially for issues that arrive while you are in and serving. Okay. If you have something come up while you're in and serving, you get hurt just like you do in regular life. Being a trans person is being a trans person, and that's fine. No issue there. But those surgeries are elective, whether we want to acknowledge that or not. I don't know if you do or not, but they are still elective. And as such, when people enlist and they make the active choice to say, well, I'm in the military now, I'm electing to have these surgeries to further my own personal agenda and my own personal beliefs. And again, that's fine.
Okay,
but it's not fine when it comes. But it's not fine. No, don't stop me. I'm still talking. But it's not fine when it's a readiness issue that affects the unit, it affects the company, it affects the battalion, and right on down the line. That is a serious issue, and that is why they put this ban in place, because it was happening far too often. Okay, go ahead. Floor is yours. Sorry.
Far too often? How?
Yes, far too
How
often.
much is far too often?
Well, if you haven't had, so here's what I'll tell you. From the people that I know, there's not a unit that doesn't have a trans person in it. Okay, so if you have a trans, if
people in the military,
I don't know how many trans people are in the military. Are there 10 to 14,000 trans people in the military?
Yes.
Is that what your statistics say? Yeah, far too many. Far too many. You can't have 10 to 14,000. That's an entire division. You can't do that. That's bad. That's bad.
Hold on, let me jump in. I just need to ask a clarifying question, because I think this is part and parcel of what you guys are talking about. Lila, of the 10 to 14,000 people that are trans in the military, do you have and you may not, do you have a ballpark number of how many of them are? Because I'm under the impression there's varying levels of trans, right? Like there are people who are dressing as and identifying as, all the way down to there's people that are having surgeries and corrective and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So of the 14,000, let's say that that's the real number. Do you have a percentage of how many of them would be doing elective or necessary surgeries that would make, or do you have any idea? Because to me, it would be way different if you said, well, yeah, there's 14,000 of them in there, but maybe of the 14, like 12 or 13,000 of them are just dressing in different clothes, but they're not doing the surgeries, which would not affect their deployment. Or if it's the other way around, well, yeah, there's 14,000, but 12,000 of them are having surgeries that make them undeployable. Then I think that's an important crux in this conversation.
I agree with that. But
that's 2 fucking aircraft carriers worth of people. Like, put that in perspective, Kevin.
No, but Paul, again, I want to get back to the question though, right? Because the key question is, of the 14,000, if this is about deployability, how many of that 14,000 are actually the ones that are undergoing the surgeries that impact their ability to be deployed? And again, I think it's an important.
You can get sure. It's a relativism question, right? If that's a point that you're trying to make, I'm not trying to make that point. I'm making the point that if you've got 14,000 people on your healthcare doles that are saying I'm trans, if somebody's saying they're trans, they may or may not choose or elect to have those surgeries. The fact that they're in a position to choose to or not have those, as soon as they choose to start having those surgeries, what happens? Now you're non-deployable. And there's follow-up surgeries and there's medications and there's all kinds of things that go with it. So now the U.S. taxpayer is paying your salary to sit home and do nothing, okay? Because you chose to go into a profession where you look, and you don't even have to, like, you can be LGBTQ in the military. This isn't a ban on LGBTQ. Right. So if that's right, and there's a quantifiable difference, isn't there? Or are you going to say that there isn't?
There isn't. There should
well,
be
I think that's these people want
to join the military and put up their service, we should let them. That's a good thing.
Yeah, it's not that simple.
Already understaffed or whatever. They're
under recruited.
It's not understaffed. In fact, since January, they've exceeded recruiting goals. Sorry, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but recruiting has gone through the roof since Donald Trump was inaugurated. It's just a fact, and you can look it up.
Okay,
but again, you still can't get around. You still can't get around this idea. 10 to 14,000 people. That's worse than I thought, and I was told it was bad. And that's considerably worse than I thought. When you put those numbers in perspective, those are not good numbers. Like I said, that's damn near an entire division. So you cannot have those levels of non-deployable individuals. Now you're talking about large units that are non-deployable.
You're basically
it's
characterizing it as they get these surgeries on a whim whenever they want, and that's not fucking true.
well, you said they joined the military. Hold on, Lila. You said they joined the military to get the free health care. So of course they do it, and now you're acknowledging it.
Hold on, you guys.
So
are
let's
talking
not
over each
pretend
other.
that they
Hold
don't
on.
do it.
You guys are talking
never
over each
said
other.
that.
This is 2D radio. Paul taught me that a long
Yeah,
time ago.
explain to Lila how it works. If one person's talking,
So
you try
Lila
not
was
to talk over
talking.
the other person. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Dylan.
It's just a mischaracterization that saying that all these trans people, and I assume that you just mean trans women,
No.
are getting these surgeries willy-nilly all the time, and it just leaves them undeployable, and that's just not true. There's a different
The fuck it isn't.
There's a different level for every trans person that gets these surgeries, and they should be allowed to get them because they are life-saving towards them. They might not even figure out that they're trans because it's repressed in them until they're already in the military. A lot of trans people go into the military to reaffirm this masculinity that they're told that they're supposed to have, and then they figure out that they're not. And it's been a big fat lie of transphobia that was pressed onto them, and then they come out in the military and they're demonized for being there.
I have a
that
question.
trans person.
Is a breast reduction or a mastectomy, whatever it's, top surgery, is that life-saving?
Yes, because
I
it
would disagree.
it reaffirms their gender as a person.
It comes down to the diagnosis of the gender dysphoria, right?
I
Is
agree
right?
that it's a mental health.
Yeah, gender dysphoria is a mental health condition.
It's not just a mental health condition.
No, but I know somebody who's had top surgery personally. I
Tom.
was there at their bedside. No,
Tom.
I was at their
That's messed
bedside
up. That's messed up.
during their whole recovery, and it was not a life-saving surgery. So that's where I am disagreeing. That that one.
Right, but
can I feel this? I think. Tell me if I'm wrong. I think the life-saving surgery angle of this comes from the mental health angle of them.
Yes.
Again, not saying I agree or disagree. I'm just trying to put this in a box. It comes down to the mental health angle of somebody living in a body that they don't identify and what that does to them mentally and how that impacts their long-term mental health. Is that
to that person? It is life-saving, regardless of how you feel on the outside when you look at them. But to them, it just reaffirms of who they are. They're going to have these two breasts just bouncing in front of them when they feel like a man. They have a beard or whatever. Like they weren't allowed to have the puberty blockers when they should have in going through puberty. They weren't reaffirmed. They didn't have the education. And now they're going through a process of puberty that they don't want. And we have ways to stop that now.
Let me share some numbers. So this is from a PBS article. Thank you, Boss Baby, for finding this. Now you can take the source for what you want. So this is actually quoted from pbs.org. I would share a link in the chat. I'll share the link in the chat anyway. Will you? Okay, thank you. So it says the Defense Department treated 1,525 service members between July 1st of 16 and February 1st of 19 who were diagnosed with gender dysphoria, a condition of extreme distress from not identifying with one's biological gender. Currently, about 1,071 are serving. So that means today, including 20 senior officers. The military spent about $8 million on transgender care, including $5.8 million on psychotherapy and about $2 million on surgeries, mostly for breast reductions and hysterectomies. There were about 23,000 psychotherapy visits and about 160 surgeries. And then it goes on to say the administration's expected policy would allow transgender people to serve if they remain their biological sex. It would grandfather in current service members, though the government has also said it retains the right to eliminate that protection. And then they also say it mirrors the don't ask, don't tell. So again, not arguing or disagreeing with either one of you, just some numbers from a PBS article that Boss Baby posted in chat.
What it comes down to is just plain bigotry, demonizing a population for systemic reasons.
I think it's easy. It's easy to blame it on bigotry. It's easy to throw blame wherever it is most convenient. But you can't deny the fact you cannot. Yes, you're patently wrong, because what you're doing is you're trying to play the victim card for all of these people who made conscious decisions to go on. And I would ask anybody that's going to make those claims. You said that they're life-saving surgeries. I would ask for documented, non-biased data that
What is
shows that that's the
non-biased
case.
That
So,
the
okay, I'll
actual
give you the, okay, okay, you're talking over me. All right, you go ahead and talk. You go ahead and talk. Go ahead and talk.
An actual trans person says that this is what they need. And when you deny that, their only option is suicide. It's life-saving fucking surgery.
Okay, you know what? You're making actually perfect sense, and I appreciate what you just said, Lilat. Because if being told you can't have a surgery would lead to suicide, you have fucking mental health issues. That's the point.
Yes.
Okay. If we're going to go round and round about this, and the claim is going to be made, this surgery keeps these people from killing themselves, which is tragic in and of itself. If you can't recognize the mental health issues surrounding that very statement, then I don't know that we can have an honest conversation about this. I think you're far too biased on your own, dug into your own position.
What mental illness prevents them from serving? Because
You just said if they don't have the surgery, all right, go ahead. Go ahead.
But if they fix it with a surgery, they're no longer mentally ill, so they are fit to serve.
Okay, great point.
Bigotry.
Great point. Okay, hold on a second. Except we did a show about this very topic about kids and transitioning. And we took a look. Now I don't remember the stats. So fuck anybody's like, Polo, show your stats. No, fuck you. Kiss my ass. The point is that we did a show, and if Kevin is intellectually honest, and he was sitting there with me when we did the show, where we talked about the fact that trans people had X amount of percentage of suicide attempts before they had trans surgery. And do you know what percentage they had after they had the surgery? Exactly the goddamn same percentage. So the surgeries did not change those statistics. Not one bit.
I'll actually tell you it's the opposite. According to the National Institute of Health, patients who had a gender affirmation surgery were 5 times more likely to attempt suicide. That's per the NIH. So again, take the source however you want to. But patients with a history of gender affirmation surgery had a 5.03 times higher risk of suicide attempt.
So you're telling me people that had the surgery were 5 times more likely to commit suicide or try?
That's what the NIH says. Now, again, I always have to preface this, right? The PBS stats don't give me an erection because I know they have an agenda. The NIH stats doesn't give me an erection because I know that they have an agenda. But these are just in my 2-second Google search. That's what I found.
Sure.
So do some more research.
Sure. So you did a 2-second search and just proved in 2 seconds the entire claim was false.
I would like to push back and say that I have not seen those statistics in the things.
Look to your right.
I see and read.
Yeah,
it's right. It's right there. It's right there.
Well, hold on.
Let me talk.
Yeah,
Thank you.
But in Lilat's defense, he hasn't had a chance to review the data. Oh, God damn it! I'm sorry.
You fucking dick, Kevin. Don't misgender people.
So sorry. She hasn't had a chance to look at the documents or kind of see what I've got.
Right.
So
no, that's fair. That's fair. But
what I'm saying is just I have not seen those statistics, and those are interesting that I will pursue outside the show because from the data that I've seen, it is the complete opposite, that they are less likely, that it does help.
Well, yeah.
And
I'm going to back up what you're saying, Lilat, because I don't have a great deal of faith in the National Institute of Health myself, so it's hard to say how much of that is accurate.
Okay.
All right. So we're gonna leave it at that. Although, do you want me to send you a link to the stuff that I just pulled up so you can look at it?
Yeah.
When you get a chance. Okay. I'll send that up to you before we're done. All right, Paul. We're gonna play a game, and I don't know if you're gonna stick around for this or not. But before you go, can I please share something?
Let me read this.
Of course. Yeah. Share whatever you like, man.
Okay. Share this.
That is false, Paul. And the author of that study has come out and said people are misinterpreting the data in order to serve their agenda.
I believe it.
During a previous conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, and that goes. Just let me say this, Kevin. That goes to my point about finding an unbiased paper that was written about it. So if a paper is written where people can interpret data as they so choose, like a paper should be wired tight, man.
Yeah, and I think part of the problem, Paul, we've said this on the show before. It is so hard to vet sources anymore.
It is because you got to figure out who's. Yeah, you got to see who's paid for it first.
Well, yeah, and there's an agenda behind every study and every research paper. A research paper is never unbiased, right? I've written
That's
enough
right.
research papers to know that the intent of the research paper is to back up your hypothesis in the opening paragraph.
Yeah.
Right. Now, ideally, the hypothesis should be the result of your paper. But now we're not seeing that. You can cherry pick data and make it fit whatever you want to. And you know what? I would love to talk to Hunter. Hunter is Paul's son who serves in the Army, to find out what Hunter's experience has been in serving with anybody who's trans. Has he served with them? Have there been challenges in just from what he's seen, from leadership, from execution, from deployability? Like, I would love to talk to people serving today to explain what they're experiencing, because I think that for every person who screams about deployability, I don't mean you, Paul, but just in general,
You can mean me. It's okay.
There's somebody else who would say they're valued members of our operational staff. They're instrumental to the organizational security, to the mission, all of that. I just don't know. I will tell you, for those of you who know what I do for a living, I work for the VA.
Thank you.
I process claims for veterans every day.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. I love my job. I don't like having to go into the office every day now. Fucking
ridiculous.
Trump. Fucking Trump. Anyway, I have not in my time, I have not reviewed not one veteran record where trans status has been an issue. Just not. Personally, I have not. Now, I used to, but I do not anymore review military sexual trauma claims. That was an assignment I had for a while before they changed how they were structured and where they were assigned.
What a horrible assignment.
No, hold on. I'm going to push back on that.
Well, what I mean is
the reasons behind it are horrible.
Yes.
The benefits for those service members is instrumental, and I think it's one of the most important things the military does.
I agree.
Yeah. But I have never come across a claim where it was an issue with trans status. Now, that either means they're going somewhere else, because we do centralized processing of certain things.
You said do.
Well, I said I do what?
You said do.
Oh, I do. So it could be that they're being sent to other locations for centralized processing. It could be that I just haven't come across them yet. It could be that trans folk are not comfortable making the reports yet. And it could also be that all these developments are relatively recent and they're just waiting to come in. So I think all those are true. I don't minimize it at all. I think there's 100 different ways.
Especially since like last 4 or 5 years, you just got into the VA, correct?
I'm with the VA since 2019. So it's almost
the
6 years.
demonization of trans people is just kicking off about that time.
Yeah.
You know, and when we see that, or anybody sees that where they're targeted, they're going to keep quiet about it. It keeps us in the closet.
Yeah.
You know, they don't feel safe coming out.
Yeah. The only reason I don't know if I agree with that completely, Lilat, is that some people have left the service since then, and we are I'll reference the MST claims, military sexual trauma claims. They're not reporting them when they're in as much because of the stigma that goes with it, but they are reporting them when they get out. So I would have expected
retaliation.
Yeah, no, I'm not faulting them for not reporting it, but I'm just saying, as trans folk are leaving service for whatever reason, either voluntary or involuntary, they're going to file that claim. And I would expect that if this is at the level that it's being said that it is, we should see an increase in those types of claims, which means Congress will get involved one way or the other, good or bad, right? Because that's what Congress does. The minute it makes some noise, they got to put some oil on the greasy wheel. But it also means that we should start seeing an increase in those claims.
Can I ask you a question, Kevin?
As we've seen with like PACT Act claims and people with exposure, we've seen this go up. I would expect we'd see an increase in that. Yes, Paul?
What do you think you would see an increase in claims of? Because based on the conversations that I've had, most people, at least those that are trans that have sought surgeries, they don't ever get deployed. So if you wouldn't be seeing a sudden increase in theater of operations related claims.
No, you would not.
Which you have not seen.
But I think you could see an increase of mental health claims resulting from that, either depression, anxiety. I think you could also see PTSD claims associated with, based on not based on deployment or theater of operations, but based on PTSD due to trauma from being in non-deployable situations where they have been retaliated against, ostracized against, reduced, whatever. Again, I don't know about the viability of those claims, how those would work, because I'm not on the rating end of things. But I've seen, but I would certainly expect to have seen more mental health claims for that as a driving factor.
Unless they're just not being retaliated against, right? I mean, there are shit problems and shit people in the military, but I can tell you from my conversations that and other folks, they put in a special category in the military. Nobody fucks around with them, and there's good reasons why.
Yeah. Can I read a comment from Holly? Because I think Holly has a really valid point. Holly says, again, I want to know why no one on the right has an issue with military who are cis using our tax dollars to get gender affirming care like Viagra or breast augmentation. So I don't know about the breast augmentation. I don't know if breast augmentation is something covered by military. If you're a woman and you want to get them reduced or enlarged, I don't know if that's covered. So I won't comment on that. But I do know, not from my day job, but just in general, because I had a family member who's in the military. The military assigned and paid for him to get Viagra.
And that's not something that'll keep you from being deployed.
Well, no, but I'm asking a question though. Would we lump that into the gender affirming care role? Like
I would.
Is that again? I'm just asking. Off the top of my head.
That's a function.
It's a natural bodily function for a man.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys don't have an issue with.
Are you gonna say the same thing about a freaking stool softener because a guy's constipated?
That's a function as well.
I'm just asking a question.
I would.
Well, no, but
augmentation and bag are two different types of things. One is a functional problem. One is a vanity issue.
I would go with Viagra versus hormone replacement therapy.
So Rick has a response. Rick said breast augmentation surgery is done by military surgeries to maintain surgeon skills and credentials for chest reconstruction surgeries. Oh. So that would make perfect sense to me in the sense that you have a kid in war who gets his chest blown out or her chest blown out in war, in combat, through an accident, whatever. If the breast augmentation surgeries is somehow used as training to certify, I guess that would make sense in a weird way, I guess. Okay. I wish we had this whole conversation like 2 hours ago, because I feel like we could go on forever and ever. Will you come on again sometime when Paul's here?
I'd love to.
Okay. All right. Paul, are you going to stick around for the game, or should I share what I want?
No, I'm going to take off. I'm going to get out, man. Let you guys finish this show. You guys are doing great.
Bye, Paul, we miss you.
Before
all right.
I've never said that in my life.
Hold on. Before you leave,
thank you, Andy.
Hold on. Let me do this. Hold on. I just want to share this. So just remember, Paul's against human trafficking. There you go.
That's right. Totally. Dudes against human trafficking. Ooh. That's that photo shoot Kevin never showed up to that he put together. Yeah.
You're great.
All right. Good night, guys. Love y'all.
Good night. Love you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Good night, Lila. Good night, Kevin.
I think this one's even better, actually. Hold on. Let me share this one instead. Hold on. This one's even better. I love Paul. I love that he did this. I just like to give him a hard time. It's very, very rare that I find things to tease him about. Look at that picture. That's a great photo. What do you think of that, Lila? Is that a good picture? That's a great photo. That's great. We're in the Daisy Dukes and the cowboy boots. That's great. That's great. All right.
Very gender affirming.
I feel like we're leaving a lot of meat on the bone in this conversation, but I want
There's
to.
a lot that I wanted to say that I just cannot articulate right now.
Can you have? Okay, will you come back on the show again though? Yeah. Like I listen, and I'm going to echo what Paul said earlier. I know some people in the chat didn't like that you were on.
Ooh.
I don't care. Like if you want an echo chamber, well, I mean, if you want an echo chamber, please. But
go to your echo chamber.
I'm always going to have people on here that think differently than I do, and than Paul does or Tom does, because that's how we get out of the muck, right, Tom?
I agree. Yeah. No, I mean, you have that. Seeking comfort's a slow death.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to be uncomfortable if you want to grow in life.
You need to have opposing views to actual affect change.
Yeah.
Well, but yeah, I mean, even more so. Yeah, you really do. You need to embrace things that are uncomfortable and examine that like hyper examine.
And when people don't want to do that, they turn to bigotry and demonization of the other.
I think there's a lot to that. I think that's why we're so divided right now.
Yes.
We can't sit down and have a conversation, and
They're offended that a trans person's on your program.
I think there are some, yeah. It's
Why give this person a voice? They're
hold on,
stupid.
Hold on, but let's be fair though. It's not that you're not just that you're a trans person. You're a trans person who doesn't agree with them.
And I'm a Marxist.
Yeah, and you're
the
a Marxist.
boogeyman.
But if you were a trans person agreeing with them, you'd be the
I'd be
poster
okay.
child for them.
Oh,
You'd be
yeah,
like,
I'd be
see,
like Trump.
Yeah. Did you vote
Yeah.
for Trump? Never. I want to know. All right. No, and again, I think the word bigot gets. We'll disagree on this. I think the word bigot gets overpassed around.
But
yes,
like I think that some people
it has meaning and it needs to be
does.
said. That's that pushback that you call out your Christians and everything like that. It's a word that validates what we're saying.
But there's,
and I understand the overuse of it, but
yeah, the thing is about bigotry, there has to be hate behind it. There has to be emotion behind it. And
it could just be a simple comment that stirs the pot, and that's that hate that it creates.
Yeah, yes, but I mean
That's
both
not
sides.
what a bigot is.
Yeah, but both sides. Well, it depends on the comment at that point. I mean,
A
you
bigot
could.
is a person who is unreasonably attached to a belief. So technically, you're
that's
a bigot
fair.
as well.
Well,
If you're
give the
gonna
rest of it
call
though.
me a bigot,
especially
I'm not
one who is
calling you a bigot.
prejudiced
Or whoever.
against or antagonistic towards a person or people on the basis of their membership in a particular group. So for bigot, for me, I kind of lean towards Tom, right?
It's better than saying racist.
Well, bigot,
But
racist,
again, that
sexist,
has to have hate behind it too. I mean, some of these things are they're accusational, and they're accusational to be inflammatory,
which leads to
hang on.
I know.
They're accusational and they're inflammatory intentionally, and
For what reason?
they're misused, and they just drive the wedge deeper into society.
So what do we call that?
Well, we call that stupid, is what we call it.
That's not the word.
No, it is absolutely
what
the
does
word.
Stupid mean?
It is absolutely the word,
Stupid
because
means
it's
something though. But it's
it means
not
uninformed.
Unintelligent.
It means uninformed. It means it means
Ignorance.
ignorant. It means
ignorant. Okay.
Stupid is ignorance. But bigotry is specific.
No, bigotry is an emotional state. You have to have hate in your heart to be bigoted, because if you're
Yeah.
just uninformed,
Word in there.
Yeah, well, prejudiced or antagonistic towards. So I think somebody can disagree. Like I could say, hey, you know what? I don't think transgender people should be serving. Like I could have that opinion. It doesn't mean that I'm a bigot. It just means that if my
It's a bigoted statement though.
it's not though,
no,
because
I
if
don't-
it's backed by some kind, you may not agree with it, but if it's backed by some sort of ideological standing or statistics, right or wrong,
or life experience,
there's so many other things.
But if I take that and then I put action behind it, then I think you can argue bigot, right? I think I do
there
think
needs to be an action behind the statement.
Well, there has to be hate behind the statement, or again, aggressive, prejudice. There has to be, for someone to come out and just say, like Kevin's example, that we shouldn't have members of the military as trans members, and then they lay out their reasoning, and it has nothing to do with hateful anything, then that's not bigoted. That is, it may not be something you agree with, but it's a statement that's been made out of that person's common sense and logic. And we may not share the same idea of common sense and logic. And that's where the conversation gets interesting. But if there's nothing aggressive or hateful behind it, we overuse bigot, we overuse racist, we overuse.
What word should I use? And stupid is not the word. I'm sorry.
Right.
There is
No,
a
I
different word to
agree with
describe
you.
what you're saying. And
I don't know
me,
what it is. That's my problem. I don't know what the right response is, but
I agree.
But of the last 5-6 years, I mean, you've addressed it yourself. The last 5 or 6 years, we've really had an ugly divide in this country. And
who's
And
Who's the people that are saying that stuff?
both sides.
Everyone.
Both sides.
Yeah, both
And
sides.
I absolutely detest our two-party system. I ask Kevin, ask Paul. I
well,
detest it.
They're
And
both,
and both parties are wrong.
they're both capitalist parties. Don't
Both
forget that.
both parties
Democrats are not the left.
yeah. Both parties are see the problem is
The right just
the problem is
puts everybody there.
you see,
The
I'm
left.
I'm neither left nor right. I mean, politically speaking, I'm standing out here on an island, going,
But you're
these
not.
two groups are idiots.
Yes.
Because they're both antagonizing each other. They're both driving each other to
Which is by design.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. And I mean, the further up you go, the worse it gets, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we can look at we can look at our leadership at the state level, at the federal level, etc. And it, I mean, we the people are mirroring the behaviors of the leadership that we associate with.
Yeah.
That
we take on the ruling class's ideology, Democrats and Republicans.
that's part of being human. That's part of the human condition. You can't get
To be
around
a-
that.
Let me say
that.
one thing about the word bigot. I think my issue with the word bigot is if we're having a conversation and you say, well, that you're a bigot, or that's a bigoted
That
statement,
shuts down the conversation.
shuts down the conversation.
And
so I think
I
that,
feel that pointing out that statement is bigoted is not the same thing as shutting it down. You might feel attacked and that might shut you down because of that. But relaying what you're saying is a bigoted statement is the same thing as telling a Christian person to call them out for what they're doing.
Mhm.
Like you say a statement, go make me a sandwich, wench. That's misogynistic. It's
Oh, that's
calling-
Kevin every 5
right.
minutes.
And I call it out every time on chat. And I know you see
Yeah,
it.
I see it.
But that's what it is.
but
That's
you
the same
hold on,
thing.
you realize I'm just poking.
Right.
Okay,
I
just
understand that.
Just checking.
But
Some people don't get that.
but it is still perpetuating that stereotype. Even if you're not meaning anything by it, it's still hurtful.
Yeah.
And that's the bigger issue. I'm sorry. I don't believe anybody in this room is a bigot or a racist or anything like that. But statements that are made on this program are bigoted, are racist, are all of that junk bullshit. And it just is just called out. That's what Holly does. That's what I do.
Oh no,
And-
Holly's told us that we're bigots, we're racists, Holly's called-
right. She
That's
feels that
that.
you
She feels that way.
actually are,
Which
and
I'm
I don't
really
believe
not,
that.
but okay.
It's the statements that you make that you just don't realize the kernel of hate within it. Even if you
That-
don't have that hate, there is a kernel that can grow in other people when they hear those things.
Well, I mean, that's both sides of the conversation, though. It you know,
Right.
to be come out and told that, you know, because someone doesn't align with XYZ, whatever that may be, you know, the way it's
I know.
presented from both parties,
it hurts.
It's unnecessary. And again, I'm calling out both parties.
This is not a both parties issue to me.
It
I call it
most
out.
certainly it is.
They're
Most certainly
they're
is.
the same apparatus. One is saying this one, the one is saying this one. They're both saying the same thing to divide us.
Right. So
Okay?
the problem,
It's best not to just say those things in the first place.
no, because then we're quashing communication, and communication is key to everything.
And that
And
is why
I'm just offensive.
And that is why you'll
So am I.
get pushback by saying that statement is bigoted. And here's why.
All right, let's put a pin in that right
Yeah,
there. Let's put a
that-
pin in
that
that.
one-
love
because
this
we're at 10
conversation.
o'clock. And I think we need to have it again. It'll be good when Paul's here too. Dennis, do you have any background music really quick?
We're not playing the game.
We're gonna play the game really quick.
No.
Really
Kevin,
quick? No?
we are not playing the game.
But we promoted
No.
the game for the last 3 hours.
That's your fault.
Make me
You
a
can't shut
sandwich.
up. You can't shut up, so we're not playing the game.
I wasn't me, it was Tom and Lilat. I'm an innocent bystander. here.
Kevin,
I was told to talk a lot.
I'm an innocent. Well, you and you did well. You filled Paul's shoes very well.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, we won't play the game. We'll do it next week. I'm sorry, you're gonna miss out on pro wrestler or porn star.
Play just 2. We got 3 minutes.
you don't have the drive home that I do.
She has a
Sorry,
much
but I'm
longer
shutting
drive
this
home.
shit down.
All right. let's do this. Let's do some parting shots. Dennis, do you have any parting shots before we conclude the show tonight?
Absolutely. Saturday night at the gates open at 2. Kitsap County Fairgrounds, Thunderbird Stadium, KDDA season opener.
Yes.
Main event that night, 2-man team derby.
Outstanding. Fun. Saturday night, what time? Gates open at 2.
Gates open at 2. Time
Starts at
trials
5.
at 4:30. Racing at about 5:30.
How much are tickets?
That I don't know.
I can tell you. I can tell you. Let me go to the KDDA website.
$10.
Do we
you-
have?
I go through the back door. No, it's more expensive than $10
Like
because the
20.
county.
The county got greedy.
Do we have an idea of when?
Is the team big car or little car? Do you know?
Mini car, I believe.
The Outlaw Derby?
20 bucks a piece. That's not bad.
On the
No,
last day of the season.
That's a great after.
As always.
Afternoon.
Yeah,
So-
I don't pay that much attention.
Yeah.
I just am told when to.
Okay, if it starts snowing, you missed it.
That's right. So
it's in
We'll try
September.
really hard to fit into the.
I believe it's September 10th.
All right. So I'll give you guys a schedule in a second. $20 a ticket, but that ticket covers your entire day, right? So if you get there at 2:00 for time trials, 2:30 for time trials, and you stay through the whole thing, you're there till 9:30 or 10. Like you're getting 7.5 hours of good fun. You can get some relatively cheap food there as well because Crazy Eric's is there, and they don't.
Crazy Eric's.
Love Crazy Eric's.
Yeah.
Smoke 'em Robinson was there last year.
Yeah, the food truck.
Yeah, the food.
I was just
couple of
referencing
food
Crazy
trucks.
Eric's because it's relatively cheap to get their food.
Oh yeah,
but they've got a whole bunch of other vendors. And
But
food trucks.
they've cut back on their menu a little bit, and Crazy Eric's didn't have that big of a menu to begin with.
Yeah,
But-
but you still get a corn dog for $1.50.
But look, you can go there, you can hang out, take a blanket. It gets a little chilly, chill out, watch some cars run into each other.
Wearing
this
a
is
skirt, not recommended.
do not wear a skirt. Not because I got anything about people wearing a skirt, but there's a lot of dust in that place and
And a lot of mudslinging.
a lot of mudslinging. Wear long pants, wear closed-toed shoes. So $20 regular price. Seniors and anybody 6 to 17 is 18. Active duty and inactive military is 18, but you must have an ID. So that's that. The schedule. Hold on. So May 17, May 31st, June 14th, July 12th, 26th, and September 13th. September 13th should be, if we are going to have an Outlaw invitation, it'll be September 13th.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it's happening.
Okay. I just don't want to commit to it for sure because, we got to wait till we get it committed
Sheets.
for sure.
Just for Dennis.
Yeah, and find out how many cars we can get. I
Sheets.
want to know how many cars in advance we can get. As many cars as we are allowed.
I guess it really depends. If we tell them we got 5, the drum.
So we tell them how many we need.
More or less.
More or less.
Yeah.
Okay. So how many do we have right now?
Right
Me,
now?
Paul, Tom, Doc Blackwell.
Yep.
So 4. I don't believe
Yeah.
Boss Baby wants to drive.
How am I gonna wear the sheets?
I'm just.
She's the trophy girl.
But I'm always going to ask because I want to give her the opportunity.
I don't
So we got
like my
4.
body.
So we need 6. I'd like to have 6.
Okay.
Okay. All
So
right.
we're coming up with 2 more.
Did we ask Lori? We have to ask. her.
Lori will never drive the car. She's too
We-
afraid.
She didn't last time for other reasons. She might now. Hey,
She might. She does have a little aggression.
Yeah, she has a little aggression.
She has a little aggression.
We've
to work
done this
out right
several
now.
years. It's not like last year was the first year she didn't do it. I know, but I'm just saying. I think she's afraid. I don't think she wants to lose to K Dog.
She's not afraid.
And this will be
Race.
what our 6th.
No.
No, it'll be.
fifth?
I think.
So Jesse Young won the first one. Debbie's won 2.
Tom won 1.
Tom won 1. So this will be our 5th.
You notice whose name wasn't in the list?
Mine.
People who won.
Mine.
Kevin's or Paul's?
Yeah.
Do you know why that is? True, honest to God story. Paul doesn't want to win. He just wants to make sure that I
He
don't.
just wants to make sure you.
Yeah. So
I'm going to put him in the wall.
Yeah, and then he ends up messing himself up and just slowing me down a little bit enough to make sure that doesn't happen. All right, Dennis, can I air personal laundry for you, or would you like me to stay away from it?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So, first of all, I love you like a brother. I would not have been at the show tonight if I were in your shoes. And so I appreciate you're here. It's probably really good for you to be here to get your mind off of things. Can I go into detail? Are you okay with that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So Dennis was with somebody for years. I'm not going to mention her name because I don't have family's permission to do that. So I'm not going to mention the name. But Dennis was with somebody for years. Longest term relationship I've ever seen Dennis have.
We were together on and off for close to 20 years.
Yeah.
And we weren't together, when this happened, but we shared a grandchild.
Yeah. And so she passed this last week.
On the 7th.
On the 7th. Again, I don't know why, and I don't want to get into why, but I'd like to talk to you afterwards just because if you're comfortable sharing, I don't want to put that over the airways. But Dennis was really close with her, loved her, was an important part of each other's lives for, like you said, like 20 years. We didn't know her well on the show. I've met her several times, talked to her several times. She was really good at giving me a hard time. She was a Raider fan, which accounts for her taste in life.
Yeah.
But I want to.
And actually, she used to come into the station back before I worked there. So like when it was you, Rocky, Bill.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, her aunt was dating Bill, the conspiracy theory guy. Yeah.
So I just want to say two things. As I get older and realize that more people we know die, it just makes me more sad as that happens. She was a good egg. Not that she didn't have her challenges and she didn't have a past and she didn't have stuff, but she overcame it and she was a good egg. And I'm hopeful that there's really great things on the other side of that for her. And for Dennis and your family and your grandchild, man, I love you. I give you shit. You're a Chargers fan. You've earned it. But I will tell you that my heart goes out to you and your fam and your grandkid. And I love you, birthday twin. I'm sorry for your loss. And if I can do anything for any of you guys, including a kidney, I just reach out to me. And I love you. And I'm sorry.
Love him. Thank you.
Love you, man.
It's been rough. I won't lie. And I have some facing to do with it coming up at the Derby.
Yeah.
Because we're doing Memorial and I also have to do one for my father at that Derby. So
well, if you need me at the May 17th Derby or a different one?
The opening night, 17th.
All right. If you need me there to help you.
I've got people that offer. Tom's been offering since it was just my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I feel like it's kind of important for me to do it and trudge through it and then take the biggest shot of whiskey I can find and go into
a guy
and go into D mode and pull off a show.
Okay. If you need me, man, don't hesitate to ask.
Appreciate it.
I love you.
Love you
all right. Boss baby, parting shots.
Pew pew.
Let's get out of here.
Tom, parting shots.
Well, I mean the obvious one. Happy Mother's Day. I had a great day. I'm lucky. I still have my mom, and it makes me actually think about you guys, and I know this was a tough one for you. I mean, we talked about that before the show, man. So, but I love you, Ma, and I had a great afternoon. We took Mom out to lunch and F-bomb, and my son and Dad came along, and I haven't cracked a beer with my dad in a while, so we hung out and had a nice lunch at Royal Tandoor. So if you guys haven't tried that yet, the new Indian restaurant here in town is awesome.
Don't be mad at me. You mean Indian like Red Dot Indian, not like Native American Indian, right?
Yeah, I mean, hey, I have a bad joke too. I mean,
I'm Native American, so I can make all the
push
jokes
start,
about
not
myself
pull
I want.
start.
Me too.
Yeah.
Are you Native American?
Duwamish.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right. Do you have enough quantum to register? Are you registered or
3%? We were trying to do that this year.
Yeah.
To be official, but we're gonna have to do it next year. My sister uncovered a lot of stuff.
Did they? Okay. All right.
She,
Get registered, man.
great.
It's really important for you and for your family, but it's also important for the tribes to boost those numbers for federal recognition and federal funding and all that stuff. Yeah.
That's what they've been fighting for.
It's
a
big
lot.
stuff. Yeah. Tom, this is not a knock on Paul. It'll sound like one, but thank you for being here in spite of it being Mother's Day. Thanks for opening up the distillery again so we could be here and do the show. Again, I'm not taking a swipe at Paul. I'm glad he did what he did, but you passed up some family time, I think, in order to be here early enough for us to do this. So thanks, buddy. I love it.
Oh no, we actually took a chunk out of our business day and made sure that moms and the family were taken care of. We opened late and So no, I made sure that.
Yeah, and the same thing to Boss Baby. Thanks for coming out here, for going some time with your mom, whom I love, by the way. Your mother is an amazing
Yeah,
person.
your mom's awesome.
She's a big fan of mine too, I can tell.
You didn't look at questions.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Are we allowed to go a few minutes late for questions? You're the one that demanded we not.
You're already late, but I'm not going late for a game.
All right, we'll get to questions in a second. Lilat, parting shots?
I'll go with Tom here. Happy Mother's Day. Mom, I'm sorry I wasn't there for our clams that we dug up today. But
you passed up clams for this show?
Yeah, I did.
Damn.
We went
Gosh,
out
you're
to
committed.
Seabeck and dug up
I love
80
some clams, man.
Yeah,
Love clams.
I thought we were going to have it in the afternoon. That was the plan. But nope, rolls around. It's time to get going.
All right.
But yeah, love you, Mom. If you watch this, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I said sorry to Mom. She was on too.
Were we okay to you tonight? You felt accepted, appreciated, involved, all that good stuff?
I had a wonderful time. Love
Good.
it.
I'm glad. Okay.
Good.
I was
That's
welcome. Yes.
All right. Before I do my parting shots, because mine will be a little bit emotional, because I'm an emotional being. So before we do that, I'm going to go to the questions, and we'll go through the WISPA questions really quick and see what we have in my inbox. Do you love Boss Baby? Duh. Somebody gave an applause sign with my name. Don't understand. Kevin, Tara Simmons has done so much to benefit defendants or criminals. This last two legislative sessions, $2 million were not funded for victims. Okay, I'm not sure what your point is. If the point is that Tara has done more for defendants and criminals than she has for victims, that's been a relatively sustained argument from the right. I've heard that a lot. I don't know. I don't know how to measure that, right? On one hand, I can see the point, but on the other hand, there's how many state reps and how many senators that all could present bills to address victims of crime. Like, for us to lay this at the feet of Tara seems to me a little disingenuous. She's proposed a whole bunch of bills, and she ran on judicial reform. She ran on criminal justice reform. So I think what she's doing is part and parcel of what she ran for, which to me is actually a little bit of integrity. Now, you guys may not approve of that. Like, I know people on the right really detest her, and that's fine. But I don't have an issue, especially when there's hundreds of other people serving that could propose legislation to fund victims programs. Like, that's not a Tara thing. That's an overall thing. Is funding going to continue to be cut for victims? Again, I don't know. I would recommend that you call your representative, if it's not Tara, and ask them why they're not addressing it. Democrat or Republican. Call Michelle Caldeer. Call who's the Democrat out here? Is it Spencer? No, it's not Spencer. Who
No.
is it? Some other person whose name I forget.
Besides, I think Spencer was 23rd.
Yeah. No, but I'm just saying, whatever district you're in, call
okay.
your representative and ask about funding for victims programs. Like, this is not a Tara thing. Like, Tara's part of the problem, but she's like one part of hundreds of representatives that could all address this. I'm all for holding Tara accountable. I've already shown that. But let's not heap shit on her feet where it doesn't need to be heaped, right? There's plenty of other people that could address this. It's not just a Tara thing. And then the last one, I often feel that the talk around DEI seems to be more about affirmative action than the intended opportunities. That's a very long conversation we'll have on another show. Frankly, I don't understand the hatred for DEI. I do understand the hatred for some of its implementations and what it's meant. But if we're celebrating people for all the things that they bring, who the fuck cares? We're going to have a potluck to support Asian American Pacific Islander people, and we want to have a potluck at work so that people can bring in dishes that are native to the region. Who cares?
Sounds delicious.
I don't care. No, I don't want people getting hired because we put some kind of a racial quota. But again, that's affirmative action. I think the DEI thing has been twisted and warped into something it was never intended to be by both sides, right? I think some people have militarized it for an agenda, and I think some people have militarized it because, like we talked about before, they want to bitch and cry about something to get you to donate money to their campaigns.
I'd like to add, affirmative action has benefited white women the most through its implementation.
I would agree.
It's just statistically a fact, you know.
I would agree.
So getting rid of that hurts women in the long run.
As a white woman, I disagree.
Really?
Yeah.
Affirmative action, especially in regards to the
I am
glass
a
ceiling, equal
white-
pay, some of that stuff was a benefit.
I'm a white middle class, too rich to be poor, too poor to be rich. Get screwed because I'm
Right in the middle.
cisgender, nothing
Right.
else.
But that's not an affirmative action thing, because affirmative action was about jobs and.
But when
and-
I was in the regular work employment, I had the same thing.
A lot of people just aren't going to feel affirmative action affecting them because it's not spelled out the way that it's characterized by other people. And that's the thing. It is an invisible societal thing that we've implemented to help marginalized people out from our system that has historically hurt them.
Yeah. I don't know how to rationalize the affirmative action, because I think some things with affirmative action were really beneficial. They really made sense.
It was more beneficial than bad.
Yeah.
Can we agree on that at least?
I would agree. I don't disagree with that, but I think that there were some things that were glaringly bad that needed to be addressed.
I think everybody should agree on that.
Okay. That's the last of those. I'm going to close with my parting shot, and this will be a little emotional. I'm not going to cry, I don't think.
Actually, can I do one more?
Oh yeah. What do you got?
So I got a couple books here.
Okay.
This one is the Women's House of Detention. It's about the Greenwich prison system in New York. Anecdotally, up the river is where that slogan came from when people were sent to Greenwich prison. These are lesbian sex workers and such that was demonized in the 20s. And
Can you hold that book up again just a little higher? I just want to make sure they can actually see it on the screen. Perfect.
It's a great book.
So when you say somebody's going up the river, it was in reference to the
was-
people going to that
yep,
facility.
it was-
Okay.
That was that. And this one is called The Capital Order: How Economics Invented Austerity and Paved the Way to Fascism. This is a great book. You guys should read it. It
who's
teaches
the
you
author?
about austerity measures. Clara E. Mate. And
Perfect.
then the other one, Hugh Ryan. The first book, it's A Queer History of a Forgotten Prison.
Okay.
Excellent books.
Awesome.
Please.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to share something here real quick. Hold on. If this will come up, hold on. So it's a photo of me and my mom in Netherlands Antilles, I think. Either that or Aruba. And probably Aruba, I think. And so a little over a year ago, we lost mom. I will never let a Mother's Day go by that I don't bring her up on this show. Same thing will be on Father's Day. Anything good I've ever been is because of them. Anything bad I've ever done is because I did not listen to them. In a world of really shitty people and in a world of really insensitive people, I was blessed to be raised by two people who were neither. They weren't perfect, and they had their flaws. But Mom, today I'm thinking about you. I love you. Happy Mother's Day. And that'll kill the show. We love you guys. Have a great night. We'll see you next Sunday.
Good night.
Wow.